All right, race fans, are you guys ready to get this underway or what? Well, from wherever you are across the world, thank you for joining us on our YouTube channel. Again, don't forget, for those of you here in Shreveport-Bossier, if you want to see some of the most amazing footage from Live Race Media, our media partner for the last 4 years here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series, check out our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. You can see some fantastic footage along with the live racing action here. But we welcome our fans from all across the world here as we're finally getting underway. Mother Nature's starting to comply a little bit. We're going to start things off with our short course. Joining me here, as she does most of the year, my partner in crime here, Kay. Hey, everybody. How's it going? All right, we're ready to get going here. We've got the Formula Lights out on the water. We're going to run their first qualifying heat here for the Red River Rumble 2025. But we would be remiss if we didn't take the opportunity to showcase what a fantastic community Shreveport-Bossier is and what a great host they've been here for the first 2 years of the Red River Rumble. All right, race fans, welcome back here. What a fantastic piece put together by the Shreveport-Bossier Convention and Visitor Bureaus. What a fantastic video highlighting what a great community we have here in Shreveport-Bossier. Again, Thomas Yarbrough, they call me the Noise of the North, along with my partner, K-Dub, here for round 2 of the 2025 Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. We've got the boats out on the water, Kay, here in the Formula Lights class. A little bit different approach we're having to take due to Mother Nature. Normally, we do a modified Le Mans start. Boats are totally shut off. We count down from 1 minute to 20 seconds. They drop a flag and the boats come taking off the dock. Well, because of the current and because of the debris and trying to keep things as safe as possible, we're going to a rolling start here, I believe, in the Formula Lights class. And boy, Kate, that throws a whole different dynamic on these drivers. It really at a moment's notice. What is that like for a driver when you've got to pivot and change from your normal and your setup and all those routines that you're used to?
Well, with these drivers, some of them are set up. They worked all weekend or all day yesterday in testing to see if they can get their starts on. Well, now they're going to have to change their whole setup on their boat, whether it be a prop, whether it be how the trim, the steering, everything is set up. So that's going to make a mind factor difference between them, too, because also some of these drivers prefer a rolling start. Some prefer the flag start.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit rolling versus flag start. Why would a driver prefer a rolling start or prefer a dock start when they get under racing conditions here in the Formula A class?
Well, with some of the drivers, the setups, the motors are set up differently. The trigger button, they've all got the trigger button, and they're, some drivers are not as experienced as the other drivers with that flag start. We've got Mark Schmierbach in the ever colorful 35, that Pizza Inn boat out there. He's been driving for a couple years, quote unquote. Then we got some of our newer drivers. There's Dominic Trollian just starting to get into these Formula Lights. He started his racing career in the outboard hydroplane racing, where he has a clock start. So he's had to learn 3 different starting procedures. He's out here now. He's going to be that number 47 right down there, and he's one of our younger kids out there just starting his career and with the Formula Lights. Hope to see him moving up forward soon. But, that's what I'm liking right now is that Dominic is down there and he's nosed into our fans. So make sure that you give him a big wave. Give him give that kid some confidence out there. But like I said, some of these drivers are more experienced with the flag start. They do like the flag start. And it's another factor with this river rolling the way it is. These drivers are like, okay, I got to make sure that I'm not triggering it too quick. And, there's a whole different aspect when it comes to that.
Absolutely, and we look at that young rookie driver, the 47 of Dominic Trollian, not a rookie on Formula Lights, but a rookie with us, as he's unable to make the water in 2024. So a rookie here in 2025. You talked about stock outboard, and most people may not know what that is. It's a division of the American Powerboat Association. It's a completely different style of racing, but for a young driver like Dominic Trollian, who's used to those rolling starts, sounds like this is a much better way to start the race for a young driver like that, maybe a bit more in his comfort zone. And how important is that comfort zone for these drivers when they're out there on the water running at top speeds?
It's a huge factor. They got to be comfortable not only with the starts, but they got to be comfortable inside those cockpits. Look how small the cockpits are of these drivers. So they have to get used to, being inside of a cockpit with just a little tiny windshield to watch through. All of these drivers are in radio communication with a radio personnel here on the beach, also telling them what's going on the course, where other drivers are at. Hey, you're all coming up on the turn 2. Hey, you've got about 8 minutes left into this race, 1 lap left into this race. So they're talking to them. But also that radio personnel, they hand-pick those radio personnel because they trust them. I'm sure that Shelby Love down here in the 24, she's probably got her dad on the radio with lots of experience. But
that's a no.
Oh, Dad's not going to do it this
Yeah,
time?
hey, at the end of the day, your parents aren't necessarily the best people to give you advice when you're in stressful situations. I can remember, yeah, Mom, I got it, okay? Dad, I get it. So actually, she's got a new radio person as of, I believe, starting off this year in Port Neches, and it turned out pretty well for her. 1-for-1 with a new radio person. But you're right, they're super important, and so much more important now when you look at adding that element of a fast river with a lot of debris in it. So not only are these spotters and radio personnel going to be helping them carve their lines and move throughout the course and try to navigate the other competitors and finish as best as possible. But now they've also got to be essentially a spotter for, hey, you need to get out to lane 3. There's some debris down the inside lane on the front straightaway. So a little bit even more stressful today for these drivers that I think, we talk about a war of attrition. And I think that's what you're going to see here this weekend. It's not necessarily the fastest boat that's going to be able to pull off a victory here at the Red River Rumble. It's the driver that can navigate this brutal water as best as possible. It's going to be tricky for all of them. But like you said, you look at the drivers like the 35 of Mark Schmierbach and somebody who's got a lot of experience, the 2 of Travis Thompson as well. That experience could play a very big part in success here in 2025. And it's going to be important because we've got a pretty tight race so far in the Formula Lights class. If we take a look at where our standings are here in the Formula Lights class, it is a doozy. After the opening round in 2025, the Port Neches Riverfest, the same place we've been going for the last 24 years, Kay, the 24 of Shelby Love was our winner at the opening round, but she qualified terribly. An 8th and a 9th in qualifying, and she accumulated so few points that actually your point leader going into round 2 here is the 35 of Mark Schmierbach. He's won the series championship before. And, boy, you put that guy out front, it's going to be pretty tough.
It's always tough to try and get around Mark Schmierbach. He knows his lines. He knows his courses. He's been racing these for a while. He also is starting to learn other drivers. That's a huge thing, too. when you're out there on the course, you have to trust and learn how your competitors drive, whether they're going to take like lane 2, you know that you can sneak on the inside, or you got other drivers out there that love to hug the buoys. You know you're not going to be able to slide on the inside, so your only place that you're going to be able to get around them is down a front stretch or a back stretch. So learning how your other drivers compete, it's kind of like football. The quarterback has to know what the other team is going to do at any point in time.
Absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Can the 24 of Shelby Love keep this streak rolling and maybe come out of the round 2 with the actual points lead? She won round 1, but again, here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series, we reward not only the finals on Sunday, but all the points accumulated throughout qualifying. So just like we do in our qualifying where you've got to lay down fast laps, you've got to race from the front, you've got to race from the back in qualifying, and then you've got to put it all together for the main event on Sunday afternoon. Really provides a complete look at who our drivers are and really helps drive the best overall driver, right? The one who can run out front, the one who can run through the pack in qualifying, the one who has the ability to put it all together in the main event. And I think that's why you see how the competitive nature and how tight things are. If you look, we gave out 220 points for first place in the Formula Lights class. And that's, we're not like Formula One where you get 9 points for, taking 6th and 15 points for first. But the top 4 drivers, 25 points separate them after the opening round. The 2 of Travis Thompson, the 24 of Shelby Love, and the 35 of Mark Schmierbach. The 77 of Daniel Trozen, unfortunately unable to be here after a third-place finish in our opening round. But, boy, with a stacked deck like that at the top, it's going to be a doozy out here, especially when you add in, right, that extra little nugget here in the Red River with debris and a current that's moving at an extremely fast pace.
Yeah, we do race on rivers, but we also do race on some smaller lakes. And so these drivers are all like, okay, I got to have the mindset of the river. When I go into turn number 1, you're going to see that they're going to shift those boats just a little bit because they're fighting going through the turn side by side with another driver. But with that current, it's going to twist the boat around just enough that they're going to have to set it back down to go back down that front stretch and fight the current coming up. Also, keep in mind, the riverbed is not quite flat down there, so that's going to bring some undercurrent that's going to throw another little whoopsie into their, trying to figure out how to navigate up and down this course.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about a river versus a lake, right, and how it affects a tunnel boat or any of the boats here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. You talk about an undercurrent, right? Most rivers have that secondary current that lives underneath, especially those rivers that have commercial applications, things that you will see here on the Red River. Right, the rivers are a little bit deeper. They're dug out. Obviously, the Red River meanders so much that it's hard to predict. We were talking to Dylan Anderson a little bit earlier today, Formula One driver who's been the runner-up the last 3 seasons. And he was on a college fishing team when he was in college, and they had a tournament here. And he called up the guys that provide him the maps for all the rivers and lakes, and he's like, hey, why is there not a map for the Red River? He's like, because it's pointless. Because it could have been 50 feet last year, and now it's 11 feet this year. But just got word from Chief Referee Doug Ray as we're getting it rolling here in our rolling start. All 7 boats here in the Formula Lights class looking to duke it out here in the opening heat. Let's take a look at our starting lineups on the inside of row 1. The young driver out of Michigan in that 47 machine. Running for S&J Asphalt, Dominic Trollian. On the outside of row 1, one half of the Pizza Inn Racing Team. He's a rookie in 2025. He's out of Crosby, Texas, Brian Bobalik.
Can't miss that bright red rocket out there, the number 12, the Traden Schleichert. He's got that Clover Construction out there. He is one of our, I guess you could call him the redheaded stepchild. If you ever see him over in the pits, you'll see what I mean. He's got that bright red hair flying in around. Traden Schleichert, one of our number 1 drivers. Right behind him, we're going to see that ever colorful 35. Oh, wait, sorry, we got Shelby Love right behind him. That'd be teammate Shelby Love in the 24, the other half of the Clover Construction.
All right, it looks like we're going to have him go around one more time. Oh, no, it looks like we're under racing conditions here. I apologize. I didn't see the green flag come out by Chief Referee Doug Ray.
As I was just talking about, coming out of turn number 2, I just mentioned it, that rolling current makes it difficult to navigate through. Dominic Trollian, unfortunately, he's going to take the brunt of it from first to last in a hurry, but keep an eye on that number 47 of Dominic Trollian.
Yeah, and it looks like the 47 of Dominic Trollian kind of falling way off the pace here. But look at the 60 of Brian Bobalik, the driver out of Crosby, Texas, pushing hard down the back straightaway. He's out in front now. Can he push hard? Down into turn number 2. He's pushing hard down into turn. He goes tight off of turn number, that's turn number 3. The 12 of Trident Schleicher. All over him. You see him disappear off at turn number 4 there. Then there's a 24 of Shelby Love. Then we go up above to the 35 of Mark Schmierbach, the veteran driver out of Greenfield, Wisconsin, pushing hard, trying to move himself up into that top 3 spots here in the opening qualifying heat.
Trying to make his way, and he hugs the buoys as he goes through that sloppy water that is being left behind by the Team Clover of Trident Schleicher along with Shelby Love.
Absolutely. You know, you talk about the 24 of Shelby Love as we stay overhead of the 35 of Mark Schmierbach, who's sitting back in 4th position, trying to track down the young woman who nipped him at the final lap of the main event in Port Neches in the opening round here in 2025. He's trying to get up more. There's the 47 of Dominic Trollian. I don't think he's seen water this rough in his young career. What can rough water like this do to a young driver, Kay?
Well, it's making your head bounce around a lot, but you're also trying to hold that steering wheel as tight as you can going through this very tight course. He's going to have to step on it because we've got the first place coming right around the corner, nipping on its heel. That's going to make a contributing factor with the first, second, and third place boats because they do have to go around back traffic.
Absolutely. There we see the 12 of Trident Schleicher. What a great move there down to the inside. Oh, no, watch out, Shelby Love. And she almost loses it down out of turn number 2 on the south end of the course. She's now got to push hard down the backstretch and try to catch her teammate. The 12 of Trident Schleicher sitting up in second. Can she do it?
Shelby Love goes way wide on the outside of Trident Schleicher, along with the 35 of Pizza Inn, driven by Mark Schmierbach. The 66, all the way out of Florida, Randy Parch comes around out of turn number 4 down the start-finish line.
And we see that the 60-yard leader of Brandon Bobalik looking to go down into turn number 3 there. What a nice move down to the inside lane. Obviously, the young rookie of Dominic Trollian. Oh, no, the 12 of Trident Schleicher coming into screen now. He takes out turn number 3. That's going to be a 1-lap penalty. Not only that, but allows his teammate, the 24 of Shelby Love, to go down to the inside, and she's able to get herself up on the podium here as we get halfway through. 3 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this opening qualifying heat here in Formula Lights.
Looks like Randy Parch is doing a wonderful job trying to come around down that front stretch or the back stretch. We're going to keep an eye on that 66, but on the camera right now, look at the fight for second and third.
Oh, that's actually, now remember the 12 of Trident Schleicher, he went down a lap. So that's now the 35 of Mark Schmierbach, who's moved up into 3rd place, and he's just trying to steer clear. And there's the 66 of Randy Parch in 4th. Now realizing that buoy is totally off course and choosing to go down to the 1 pin. This happens in powerboat racing. Is that a weird thing, Kay, when you see a buoy go out on a course? What does that do to a driver to have to readjust their course map inside their mind?
Well, is they're not being told by the radio personnel, they're going to go around that buoy. We did see Randy go around the buoy the first time. Then he was informed that is a loose buoy, not part of the course. Now we have a 1-pin turn for these Formula Lights. And it's going to be a great job by Shelby Love as she comes through at 1-pin turn. She's been dipping on the bus.
And we're going to stay with the 24 of Shelby Love as she sits in 2nd place trying to hunt down the rookie driver out of Crosby, Texas, the 60 of Brandon Bobalik. Now Bobalik side by side with the 66 of Randy Parch, trying to put that back marker between him and the 24 of Shelby Love. What could that do for the young driver out of Texas?
Coming around one more time with back traffic, and we almost lost out Bobalik in the 60. Shelby Love made a great turn in the 24.
And this is what she could need right now, gaining that momentum coming out of the turn. He scrubbed off so much speed. Can she track him down here? We've only got 1 minute, 37 seconds remaining here. She goes wide to the outside.
As we both
trying to find that clear water.
As they make their way around the course, I will give you the lineup of how they are sitting on the course. Your first place boat is the number 60 coming into turn number 3, followed by Shelby Love. Just about ran up the back of him, trying to get around.
Oh, here we go.
The 3rd place boat will be on the backstretch. That's the ever colorful number 35.
And ladies and gentlemen, what a move down the front straightaway. Shelby Love does a little shake and bake wide to the outside. And she's going deck to deck, side by side with the 60 of Brandon Bobalik. What a great turn coming out of turn number 2. And she starts to pull away. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a new leader here in qualifying heat number 1. The young woman out of Santa Rosa Valley, California, in that composite Hoffman, the newest Formula Light in the field here in 2025. And she's got that thing absolutely strolling here on the Red River.
Shelby Love, a 3rd-generation driver, has got racing in her blood, and with that move, you can see where it came from. 60 just about blew it over coming out of turn number 2, settles the nose back down. Shelby Love, your leader, comes out of turn number 3, comes down the front stretch as we've got 30 seconds remaining in this heat.
And there's our leader, the 24, Shelby Love. Just 29 seconds plus 1 lap remaining here in this opening qualifying heat. We do timed qualifying heats and finals here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. And she's pushing hard. Can she catch her teammate, the 12, the Trident Schleicher, who's definitely laid off a little bit here after picking up that buoy? No surprise, as he's just trying to keep this thing safe and in one piece here on this rough and tumble waters of the Red River. There's the white flag.
Drayton goes just a little bit wide, shoving it. Shelby Love, and it looks like we lost Dominic Trollian. Might have missed the buoy again down there in turn number 1. But our leader making her way down that front stretch, or the back stretch, in the 24 Clover Construction. Half a lap to go.
And there's the 60 of Brandon Bobalik and that Pizza Inn machine sitting in second. But we're going to go back to our leader as she comes down off of turn number 3, down the front straightaway. Ladies and gentlemen, going wide to the outside, taking qualifying heat number 1, number 24, Shelby Love. And a great second place there by the 60 of Brandon Bobalik. Boy, what he wouldn't give to have that one turn back here on the north end of the course. He turned a little too tight, Kay, and it's amazing how much momentum one slight incorrect move can kill in a tunnel boat.
Well, we saw it with Dominic Trollian. He started off in first and unfortunately whipped it around down in turn number 2, went from first to last in a hurry. But, he's doing a great job out there. But Shelby Love, once again, congratulations. That's a great way to start her weekend with a checkered flag in her hand.
Absolutely, especially considering she struggled with qualifying in the opening round. Now, she put it together in the main event, coming from 6th off the start pontoon to win, which is a pretty big move in Formula Lights, especially with the likes of Travis Thompson, Chris Hughes, Mark Schmierbach in front of her when she started. But a great run here. We were talking about this earlier, momentum, right? When you do well, when things are going well, it just seems like you're on a different level. And boy, it seems like the 24 Shelby Love has really stepped up her game and has found that extra gear that maybe could drive her all the way to a championship.
She's got the confidence in there, but she's also got the pressure now. Being a female, being the young one out there, being a newer driver, she's going to have a lot of pressure put onto her to be able to continue growing in this sport like she's doing and to be able to stay up on the top podium.
Absolutely, and we take a look at everything. I don't know what happened with the 2 of Travis Thompson. He must have had some issues, and that young driver fights electrical gremlins in that number 2 machine on a regular basis. They say, if you didn't have bad luck, you wouldn't have any luck at all. That seems to be the moniker of the number 2 of Travis Thompson. So he doesn't get to start. Dominic Trollian, after missing a couple of buoys, goes down a couple of laps. Trident Schleicher gets dinged a lap. He shuffles back to 4th. Randy Parch there in 5th. But nice job by Mark Schmierbach. He started last in this rolling start here, made his way up to 3rd. But he's also sitting behind his rookie teammate here as he finished in 2nd. Now, don't get me wrong, he started on the pole. That's definitely going to help. But what a great run there it was by Brandon Bobalik. He's got to feel, again, some of that new confidence that he gained in a solid finish in the opening round, and now coming out here and getting a top 2 finish here in the Formula Lights opening heat.
Well, I'm sure he would have loved to have had more qualifying heats today. They did have testing yesterday, just to get more comfortable in the boat. He's a rookie driver, and, confidence is key. And, he's doing really well. One win after another, we're going to be seeing him up on the podium moving farther and farther and forward. Because the Pizza Inn over there at Port Neches is going to want cheering him on, I'm sure. I know we have a lot of people watching us on the live stream. We do welcome you. We are the F1 Powerboat Championship. We are here at Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah, it is the second round here in 2025 here at the Red River Rumble. And what a great run it was there by the likes of Brandon Bobalik and Mark Schmierbach, and especially the 24 of Shelby Love. But we've got the tri-hulls out on the water now. We're going to get the Formula Lights loaded out. And coming up next, after a word from our sponsors, the Texas tri-hulls, or like we like to call them, bumper boats at 65 miles an hour. We'll be right back with a word from our sponsors.
time to shake things up and have some fun. At Margaritaville, Bossier City, the good times are overflowing, with new dining options for every craving. Watch the biggest plays and win big at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Catch a live show year-round. And when it's time to settle in, our updated hotel rooms are the perfect place to unwind. Come for the thrill, stay for the flavor, and relax in total comfort. Margaritaville, Bossier City. Come have some fun.
All right, we also got to thank a great local sponsor here in 2025 of the Red River Rumble, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. When you're heading home after the race, head on over to Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's hand-battered chicken fingers and delicious secret sauce is the perfect way to feed your appetite. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love. The Shreveport Aquarium. Get up close and touch and feed the friendly stingrays in a memorable hands-on encounter. And when it's lunchtime for the Sharks on Fridays and Mondays at 2:30, come and check out the unique feeding behaviors of these incredible predators at the Shreveport Aquarium. And the official fuel sponsor of the 2025 Formula One Powerboat Championship Series, VP Racing Fuels. VP Racing Fuels is a fantastic organization that's been with us for numerous years here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. And we've got them back here as a sponsor again in 2025. VP Racing Fuels. Win every race with VP Racing. For 50 years, VP Racing has been the choice of champions, delivering high-performance racing fuels, lubricants, coolants, and additives to give you the power and performance you need. The great folks at VP Racing Fuels. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn things over here to my partner, Kay, as she's got our winner from qualifying heat number 1, the number 24 of Shelby Love.
All right, well, I had to drag her away from all of her fans she's already got. She was like coming down and everybody stopping to take pictures with you. You know, welcome to Shreveport-Bossier, Louisiana.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm so excited. Oh, sorry.
Hey, you're coming off of a great win just a couple weeks ago in Fort Neches, Texas, and starting your weekend here with another checkered flag in your hand. How are you feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. The circumstances of having to wait and skip qualifying and stuff was a little frustrating, but overall it's been going pretty good. This is definitely a course where you have to be careful and watch out for logs, so it's a lot more work, but it's fun to try to go through it all. So. Well, you had a great maneuver right here in turn 3 and 4. You just kind of snuck right in there. Yeah, I got lucky that I got a little bit of an entrance. It just sucks that it was my teammate that hit the buoys to give it to me. So. Well, you know, it was a great move. We've seen a lot of driving skills that you are moving, you know, third-generation driver. We are excited to see you. I'm going to let you get back to that huge fan base. They're all sitting here with cameras ready to take pictures. Your winner of the Formula Lights, heat number 1, Miss Shelby Love, Clover Construction. All right, Thomas, I'm getting kind of excited.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. We've got the bumper boats at 65 miles an hour ready to slug it out here in an all-out war on the Red River. And, boy, we've got an interesting class here. Let's talk about it. We've got a 3-time defending series champion, the man that hails from the great state of Michigan, out here to try to go back-to-back at the Red River Rumble. He won in 2024. Can he do it again here in 2025? But the big thing that he's got to watch out for is he's not the top of the heap anymore. After the opening round, he was not able to get by the 13 of Grant Schubert. And the 13 of Grant Schubert is your leader coming into round 2 here at the Red River Rumble. But, boy, what a rivalry we have seen over the last couple of years between the 13 of Grant Schubert and the 17 of Neil Marsh.
We've got a couple different rivalries. If you really look, there's a lot of family members out there. We got 2 Rinker brothers racing against each other. We got Tanner Rinker versus Mason Rinker, Jack Schubert, John. You know, we got all the Schuberts out here. And watching these guys battle it out is so much fun. But the best party is back in the pits after the race. and they're sitting there talking about how, you hit me. No, you hit me. So race fans, if you are ready for some fun, here is where it's going to be, right here with the Tri-Halls. Right out in front, Neil Marsh. Can't miss that bright blue number 17. Right behind him in the all yellow Rinker Boat World brings you the 37 of Mason Rinker. With Corey Walker in that number 1 boat. And we got a little bit of a change in drivers when it comes to that all-black number 10. Unfortunately, Papa Jerry had a little bit of an incident a couple weeks ago, had to hand over the steering wheel over there to his great-grandson. So we're going to be seeing Tanner Rinker in the number 10.
All right, let's take a look at our starting lineup. Oh, boy, of course, hey, when the rich get richer, the 7 on the inside of row 1, we had to draw for position here. The 17 of Neil Marsh is going to start off in the catbird seat. On the outside of row 1 is the number 1 of Corey Walker, the man out of San Antonio, Texas.
And I just talked about that. Rinker Boat World brings you the number 37 of Mason Rinker. Here comes Grant Schubert in the number 13, doing a little bit of dual racing this weekend. We're going to see him later on in the Formula 1.
And on the outside of row number 3 is the number 54 of Darren Ware. All right, looks like we've got them lined up on the north end of the course. There we go. The 54, Darren Ware on the inside of row number 3. On the outside of row 3, that's the 10 of Tanner Rinker. On the inside of row 4, that's 69 of Cole Mullet Wearing. On the outside of row 4, and that Ray Bob Seasoning, check them out at raybobseasoning.com, is the number 26 of Briston Sherman. And then rounding out the rest of the field, we've got the 13 of the 12 of Jack Schubert, and the rookie here in 2025, the 3 of Austin Terry. All right, here we go. They're ripping them down the front stretch. Jet Ski Jared pulls off. What a great shot there overhead from our drones as he pulls off. And we go under racing conditions here. Green flag in the opening 7-lap heat here in Texas Tri-Hall.
Corey Walker is going to give Neil Marsh a run for his money as they dive into turn number 1, bringing it right around. And look at that sneak attack move by the number 10. Grandpa loaned him the boat. He's going to have to bring home the hardware. That'd be Tanner Rinker.
Yeah, the 10 of Tanner Rinker moving over from that 52 machine after the unfortunate incident. Important. Oh, look out there. We got a red flag on the course. I'm trying to figure out what happened there. I don't know what happened. It looks like we may have lost a buoy or something down here on the north end of the course. Oh, it looks like we've got a last couple of Tri-Halls coming into the race here. Unfortunately, our Tri-Halls they are unable to be craned in here at the Red River. And so we've got to launch them at a ramp about a mile downriver. So it's quite the jaunt for the Texas Tri-Hall drivers. And it looks like maybe our chief referee, Doug Ray, got a little bit excited there and started that heat early.
Yeah, Thomas, but you know what? That just gave a little teaser to all of our fans of what they're expecting to see. But now we're going to throw a couple extra boats into this race, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We told you guys, this is one of my favorite classes to watch because it is so much fun, and these drivers have so much fun. They're kind of rolling down here, so make sure you give them all a big wave. They'll wave right back at you. You got Neil Marsh over there in the number 17 going to give you a wave, followed by Josh Wells in the 88. Looks like we got ourselves another one coming around the corner. That's going to be a Schubert in the 13.
Yeah, obviously the 13 of Grant Schubert, the man leading the points after round 1, wasn't even out here on the water, unable to make it all the way down to the race course. And it looks like we just miscalculated a little bit out there. There's so many of the boats are white in color. Why are they white in color? Well, when you slam into each other, you got to repair it on a frequent basis. If you're going to repair it, you might as well use white because then you can just slap a white gel coat over the top and move on.
Well, the one that's not going to do that we just had him on the camera was Neil Marsh. The one I like to keep an eye on those over there is that 69 of Cole Wearing. A little bit different of a paint job this year, I noticed. He kind of changed it up on us, and I said, what's up with the new paint job? Because I thought I'd try something new, and he's fun to watch. Another thing, he's got a different motor on the back of that boat this year. Yeah,
it's actually a brand new boat here for 2025. They went in and lightened that boat up a little bit. The 69 of Cole Wearing, a bigger guy like myself, and Tri-Hall is the perfect class if you're a 6'2", 6'3", 250-pound guy. Tri-Hall is absolutely fantastic class for you. But again, to try to be a bit more competitive, to counterbalance the heavier weight of that 115-horse four-stroke Mercury on the back, the 69 of Cole Wearing worked with the great folks at JH Performance Boats to design a new age, lighter version of that Tri-Hall. And we've definitely seen it as he's had a lot more consistent qualifying, even starting in the back so far here in 2025.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on that one. But that 88, Josh Wells, he's kind of like the little stealth driver out there. He just sneaks in.
Yeah. You don't really see him coming, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he just passed me. What happened? Yeah, 88 of Josh Wells. He's in that Brondo machine. Brondo, it's what boats crave. The 88 of Josh Wells.
JH Performance does so much for this class. I mean, that's one of our big sponsors. John Schubert does so much to build this class, and I've watched it over the last couple years just grow and grow and grow. And you know how it grows? Is these fans that are sitting here and they're like,
absolutely,
I want to go try that out. So I do tell you one more time, the pits are open to you for the public if you guys want to go up there after the races are all over, because we got some racing still to go. Make sure you head up there. Go talk to the drivers. You might even be able to sit in one of the boats. Also, don't forget to stop over here at the F1 Powerboat Championships and grab your swag. Grab yourself a t-shirt, take it up there, get a signature from these drivers. They love talking race boats. You can also be a volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers when it comes to F1 Powerboat Championships. And each race series is looking for volunteers. Please make a moment, stop and thank all of our volunteers, all of our fire and police department that are here to make sure it's a safe weekend for you as well. And remember, we got lots of food, lots of beverage. We got music going on. We're going to get these tri-hulls relined back up and get them right back out onto the river.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen that happen here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship series here. Our season chief referee, Doug Ray, normally doesn't miscount at all, but it might have been some miscommunications. Again, these boats having to be launched more than a mile downriver. They've got quite the long drive back up the river, especially when you're fighting against a current that's as fast moving as we're seeing here on the Red River today. All right, it looks like we're going to finally get them all lined back up. Obviously, we had to maybe move some buoys back into place, but it looks like we finally got all the drivers. Our last boat making his way down the river, and I believe that is the Mean Green, number 63 of Aaron Green, the driver out of Whitewright, Texas. Finally got his boat back together. He had some pretty bad motor problems in Port Neches, went through 2 motors in the opening weekend, had to get a new motor put on, full rebuild on one of those motors that got destroyed in Port Neches, and he's hoping to just be able to collect some points. And honestly, I talked to him after Port Neches, and I said, hey, what's your goal for Shreveport? He goes, I just want to finish every heat. He didn't finish many of them in Port Neches. He was able to finish the final, which he was happy with, so looking to build off that momentum from there. But looks like we finally now got our entire fleet on the water and actually on the race course here, and we're going to get back underway here in just a moment with the second chance start of the Texas Tri-Hall opening qualifying heat number 1. Again, Texas Tri-Hall always run 2x2 rolling starts. Normally on our tunnel boats, the Formula 1s and the Formula Lights, we run that modified Le Mans start, but it's interesting to see how differently those approaches play out. When you shift, like all of our tunnel boat drivers, the Formula 1s and the Formula Lights are going to be going to rolling starts here. That's the norm for the Texas Tri-Hall class. And you mentioned briefly about the 13 at Grant Schubert. He does pull double duty running both Tri-Hall and Formula 1. I think he's not too upset about having some extra practice on a rolling start before he gets in his big F1 that's going to run in excess of 120 miles an hour.
And Grant Schubert, I remember meeting him for the first time at Springfield, Ohio. He was just a young little kid racing J-Stock Hydro. And I was like, hey, what's your goals? He goes, I want to do a Tri-Hall. And I said, what about the big boats? He goes, I got to wait a couple more years for that, but I'm going to get in a Tri-Hall. And, even one of his first couple races here in the Tri-Hall, it was like, where did this kid come from? I mean, he's supposed to be an outboarder, kneeler, but then, it's a Schubert name, got racing in the blood. Yeah, right, racing in the blood, multiple generations. I mean, I remember his grandfather, Bob Schubert, was I believe he was the chief referee for the IOGP, the International Outboard Grand Prix Series, that was essentially the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series under a different ownership and management back through the 80s and all the way into the early 2000s. So a great run for the IOGP. But Bob Schubert raced and then became a referee. Both his father, John, and his uncle, Mike, were both big-time Formula One powerboat racers. So no surprise that the next generation of Schuberts really just kind of fall into line with that skill, that unique skill set that they've spent their entire lives learning via being around their grandfather and their parents for their entire lives here
in and around boat racing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they were born and raised around these boat races. They watch them over and over. And see, even some of these kids are volunteers up here in the start-finish line where they're going to help with flags. So they understand how the flags work. They understand how the whole racing circuit out here works. I did have one of our race fans come up to me a little bit ago and asked exactly how the whole circuit works out here on the water. We do run an oval course. We do not go right and left. Well, there's a couple races where we decide to go right and left. But we do run an oval course. There is what's called a kilo where they do have to run a straight shot. He was like, so do you just run straight up and down the river? And I was like, no, we go around in circles because we're a little crazy that way.
Yeah, we do like to set our kilo records. That most recently has been down in West Virginia. The great folks at APR have been managing that kilo record run where that's just, like a drag strip. Rip it as fast as you can. Obviously, a little bit different here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series, much more like a NASCAR or Formula One racing that you would see where we are, making laps. It is, square, oval, oblong, however you got to get around the course and stay just outside of those buoys. The drivers don't really care what the lap looks like as long as it gets them out in front.
And right here this weekend, we have 3 different styles of racing. We're going to have the trials that are out on the water. We just got done watching the Formula Lights. We're going to have the big formulas come out later. APBA, American Powerboat Association, has such a huge dynamic of racing, of all different racing styles. So I do urge that you, when we have a little bit of downtime, go onto your phones and look for American Powerboat Association. It is raced here in America. We are nationwide. We actually have drivers here this weekend. Florida, Nashville, California. Drivers are coming from all across
Canada.
the states. Where? Canada, yeah. We got our lone Canadian up here, Aiden. He's he drove 22 hours, I think, to get here.
Hey, sorry, Rusty Wyatt, if you are watching out there, buddy. I know you were the lone Canadian for a long time. You've been replaced, sir.
Same with Mark Major. Those are some of the names that we're putting out here.
Yeah, we've had a long-standing tradition of some fantastic Canadian drivers. The one that comes to mind for me is, I believe, one of the greatest Canadian tunnel boat drivers that ever walked this earth. God rest his soul. But the man, the myth, Mr. Ted Gregouche.
Oh yeah.
In the lineage of powerboat racing that stems from the Gregouche family up in Ontario, and all the fantastic things they've done, and all the people that they've introduced to tunnel boat racing. The likes of Mark Major, Rusty Wyatt, who put in a fantastic runner-up finish in the European and Asian series. Actually finished, I believe, better in his first year on that series than he ever did on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. So that speaks volumes, right, to a series that's run over in Europe and Asia, with a lot of teams being funded by a lot of the Middle Eastern governments, Sharjah and things of that nature. That just speaks to the depth and the quality of the drivers here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. Now, it weren't for maybe a few mistakes of his own, a la Springfield, Ohio, I think 2019 or 2021 maybe, when he was coming around the final turn and ran out of gas while in the lead. Yeah. But that's that razor edge that these guys have to live on, because weight is such a factor in powerboat racing, right? You talk about the drag coefficient, hydrodynamics that come into play here, right? Unlike a car where you're trying to glue that thing to the road so you can go as fast as possible, here you're trying to get as much of it out of the water, completely counterintuitive to car racing, and it makes things extremely difficult to run that ragged line, and boy, it can really nip you if you're not too careful.
When you're talking about the fuel in the boat, and as they're going around the water and racing, they're burning fuel. That changes the balance of these boats too. And that's a huge factor. You got balance of the boat. You got debris coming down the river. You got 12 to 13 other boats out here on the water that are trying to chase down that top podium finish. We're going to get them all lined up, and Jet Ski Jared's doing a wonderful job. That guy works so hard.
Let's take a look at our starting lineup again here on the inside of row 1, the 17 of Neil Marsh. On the outside of row 1, the number 1 of Corey Walker. On the inside of row 2, the 37 of Mason Rinker. On the outside of row 2, that's the 13 of Grant Schubert. On the inside of row number 3, the 69 of Cole Waring. On the outside of row number 3, the 10 of Tanner Rinker. On the inside of row 4, looks like that is the 54 of Darren Ware. On the outside of row 4, that's the 26 of Briston Sherman. And then it looks like the 3 of Dustin Terry and the 63 of Aaron Green. That's the 88 of Josh Wells, rounding out the field here in the Texas Tri-Haul division of the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. Here we go. He's pulling off the water. We're waiting for Chief Referee Doug Ray.
All right, we're on our roll.
He drops the flag, and here we go.
Neil Marsh is going to lead him across down into that turn number 1 as he's going to dive down in there. He's going to hug that buoy. We're going to see if Neil Marsh can hold on to the inside. Look at the 88 of
Josh Wells. You talk about how sneaky. He just flashed to the right side. He moved up from the inside of the last row, and he's already up duking it out. Oh, no, he fell back. And now the 10 of Tanner Rinker, the 37 of Mason Rinker, and the 69 of Cole Warren doing battles. They go down into the north end of the course there, sitting in that 6th, 7th, and 8th position. But right now it is Neil Marsh, the man that nobody except for Neil Marsh wants to see out in front with clean water here in this opening tri-hull heat. But the one of Corey Walker is doing everything he can, as well as, who is that there? That looks like that's the 13 of Grant Schubert. He's coming up and charging hard.
We did talk about him earlier about how he is a very veteran driver when it comes to these tri-hulls, trying to dive on the inside of the number 1 of Corey Walker. Corey Walker slams the door. We're going to keep an eye on this top 3. But let's look back a little bit further back there. The 69 of Cole Waring. He's trying to battle it out with the number 10.
Look at this move here by the 13 of Grant Schubert. He goes down to the inside, trying to get by the 1 of Corey Walker. He's got that inside line. Can Walker squeeze him as they go down front straightaway? Look at them side by side as they are all over each other down the backstretch. The 13 of Schubert on the inside. Oh boy, what's going to happen here? Schubert just jams his nose in there and shoves the 1 of Corey Walker. It's like, listen, man, I got to go catch Neil Marsh. Get out of my way.
And it's going to look like Corey's going to try and dive on the inside of Grant Schubert as they make their way down into turn 1. We're going to see what's going to happen, but it looks like struggling through turn 1 is Neil Marsh, and as Grant Schubert's going to take advantage of it. He's going to sneak back out on his inside, on his outside, but keep an eye on that number 1 of Corey Walker.
Yeah, and I think, you talk about the 13 of Grant Schubert, just the sheer guts to jam that boat down in there and and the belief that he could come out okay. Look at him cross through the wake, now go wide to the outside. They go side by side down the front straightaway. The 17 of Marsh is all over the place in that 110 cubic inch OMC on the powered Texas Tri-Hull, trying to fight off the 115 horse 4-stroke motor that's on the back of that Captain Jack's machine, piloted by the number 13 of Grant Schubert as they go down the back straightaway.
Neil Marsh going to lead him down that backstretch. They're starting to come up to back traffic. We're going to have to see if Grant Schubert's going to be able to sneak on the inside, and he loses the door, and then he's going to be slammed by Neil Marsh, shoving Grant Schubert.
And it just seems like the 17 is so much more all over the course than the 13 of Grant Schubert. What do you attribute to that, Kay?
He's just having troubles with that steering, and we're going to watch as they slammed into each other. Grant Schubert takes advantage of it. We have a new leader in the number 13 of Grant Schubert making his way down the back.
Look out there. As the 17 of Neil Marsh was all over the place, he's just driving that thing like he stole it. Now look at him come up to the outside, trying to hold him off. Is the man now out in front, the 13 Grant Schubert. Oh no, look out, Neil Marsh. He goes down in the corner, and ladies and gentlemen, we've just got the one flag, white flag. Comes out, go fast, turn left for the 13 of Grant Schubert. Can he hang on for the win here in the opening Texas Tri-Hull heat?
Grant Schubert comes out of turn number 1, followed by Neil Marsh in the 17, but Corey Walker going to dive on the inside. We're going to have a dual race as they go down the backstretch side by side, but Grant Schubert going to lead him into turn number 2. Quarter of a lap to go to take that checkered flag.
As he comes out of turn number 2, down, heading south, back down the river. Ladies and gentlemen, taking qualifying heat number 1 with a great move on the north end of the course, the number 13 of Grant Schubert.
Followed by Neil Marsh in that number 17 and Corey Walker in the number 1.
And then following right behind him is the number 37 of Mason Rinker. He gets by his teammate and brother, the 10 of Tanner Rinker. And then right behind him is the 69 of Cole Waring, the 88 of Josh Wells. And it looks like we did have a couple of transponders that might have gotten rattled loose. The transponders, for those of you watching on our YouTube channel, are what do the lap timing. And we have multiple systems in place, a backup to a backup to a backup. And so there is a little bit of a discrepancy here. As you can see, Grant Schubert's transponder is down 7 laps. He is definitely not down 7 laps. He was your winner. So, but his transponder looked like it malfunctioned. As rough as this river is, and they had to drive a mile upriver, my guess is that transponder may have just gotten a little bit rattled loose before he got rolling. It's something that unfortunately happens a little bit more than we would like, but what do you do when the class is nicknamed Bumper Boats at 65 miles an hour? So what a great run there it was by the 13 of Grant Schubert. Now it looks like the 17 of Neil Marsh is going to have his hands full because he's sitting in the same place after Heat 1 as he was after Round 1, a place he hasn't been in over 3 years.
Well, and you talked about it during that race. usually Neil Marsh, I mean, you can never be in control when it comes to the trials, usually seems to be more in control when he's going around all these corners. And I don't think I've seen that guy spin out in a long time, and that actually just cost him that top podium finish. But, I can guarantee he's going to go back into the pits, maybe make some adjustments before the next heat.
Absolutely, and I think if you watch the 17 of Neil Marsh, the closer the 13 of Schubert got, the more aggressive his driving got. And with the rough water and the currents here on the Red River, right, aggressive driving can be great, but you're so much closer to falling off that cliff or tipping over the edge that you have even smaller margin for error. And it looks like the 17 of Neil Marsh took that risk and unfortunately didn't come out on top this time.
Yeah, and Neil Marsh is one to keep an eye on. Grant Schubert's one to keep an eye on. I mean, there's so many great drivers when it comes to these tri-halls. I mean, they have to be great drivers, but they also have to be able to withstand the beating that they take. So if you're a chiropractor here, you might want to go make some money over there in the pits.
Correct. Go find a tri-hall and make sure that you're their title sponsor, because they will use your services and share with all their tri-hall friends your services to get their backs all straightened out. But hopefully we get a chance and an opportunity to talk to the number 13 of Grant Schubert. I don't know if that's going to be possible because, again, like you had mentioned, Kay, he pulls double duty here in 2025 like he did in 2024. He is going to be hopping out of a tri-hall and directly into a Formula One.
And it's fun to watch some of these drivers. Some other drivers do multiple racing throughout the weekend. Here we have our Formula Lights. We've got our tri-halls that were just out on the water. We're going to bring the big boys out here in a little bit, change the course up a little bit. We still got a lot of debris coming down, and I want to thank all of our volunteers out here on the water helping to keep these drivers safe. We saw an example what happens when just a little tiny piece of wood can make an impact onto a boat. Unfortunately, Grant Schubert in testing yesterday hit one of those little things, got a huge hole in the bottom of that boat. But luckily, there happened to be a spare boat sitting over in Clover Construction.
No.
And he was able to bring that boat over to his pits. They worked all night long last night, and when I got down here first thing in the morning, they still had their heads into that boat, trying to make the transfer over. It's going to be interesting to see how Grant Schubert can go from one boat to another. Two different hulls that he's going to be working with. But Grant Schubert, an experienced driver with a great team behind him. Good to see that he was able to make that transfer, and we're going to be seeing him back out on the water. Grant Schubert hopefully will make it up for an interview so we can talk to him about some strategic moves that he had to make in that heat to be able to take the checkered flag.
Absolutely, and it looks like we're going to have the Formula Lights and the tri-halls come back out here and run their second heat. Coming up next, the Formula Lights are going to be back on the water for their second qualifying heat. So make sure you wet that whistle. Get yourself a cocktail, a quick bite to eat. In just a few minutes, we'll have the Formula Lights back out on the water after a word from our sponsors.
From an early age, we race. It's part of who we are. It's in our DNA. For some, the need to keep pushing fuels our lives. At VP Racing, we pour everything we have into creating the industry's best products. For those who put it all on the line, whether it's the track or the trail or wherever you race, they say you can't win them all, but you can sure as hell try. VP Racing. Win every race.
At LSU Shreveport, we know you're more than just a student, and that you're ready to conquer whatever comes your way. Whether you're aiming to design the next big game or manage a business empire, our programs give you the tools you need to succeed. With vibrant student life options, safe housing, and affordable tuition rates, LSU Shreveport is here to help you level up and unlock your potential. Apply today at lsus.edu. LSU Shreveport, more than a university.
Welcome back, race fans. Grant Schubert, welcome. You did a wonderful job navigating through that. That was a pretty crazy heat.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough water out there. Current's really moving. My racing Neil Bob first and second, hit a huge roller, and I'm sorry to Neil Bob. I really didn't mean to run him over like that, but it paid out for me, and I'm sure he'll get me back in the next one.
Well, he didn't really give up. He was still nipping on your heels throughout that whole heat.
Oh, yeah, I saw it happen, and I saw there was one lap left, and I knew I'm going to catch a lot of stuff forward back at the pits, but it is what it is.
All right, are you going to make any changes for the next heat?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, well, you heard it from the man. Congratulations, your first checkered of the weekend. Double duty. I know you got a lot of work to do. You're going to get you back down into the pits. Once again, congratulations, Grant Schubert.
Thank you.
All right, the young gun out of Richmond, Texas, looking to ratchet up the rivalry between him and his toughest competitor, the 3-time defending champion, the 17 Neil Marsh. But we've seen the tides turn. We are now through 2 races, and I've had way more conversations with Grant Schubert. Not 2 races, but we've got a qualifying heat in here, plus all the racing from our opening round. And I had a lot more conversations with the number 13 of Grant Schubert than I did with the 17 of Neil Marsh last weekend. We haven't chatted with him yet. It's a little bit weird not having Neil come up here after every single race. But we got, again, some of our great sponsors here at 2025 at the Red River Rumble locally. The first are the great folks at Caddo Parish. Caddo Parish, a fantastic sponsor for the 2025 Red River Rumble, a Formula One showdown here in Shreveport-Bossier, Caddo Parish since 1838. Seabold Sports, world champion powerboat racing since 1939. Seabold Sports, find out more about the legendary Seabold family at SeaboldSports.com. And the great folks at Conterra Networks. Conterra Networks delivers lightning-fast internet to keep your business running at the speed of today's world. And finally, the exclusive casino sponsor for the 2025 Red River Rumble Formula One Power Showdown, Margaritaville. Taste the good life at Dragos, the area's best seafood, and our famous charbroiled oysters. Check out Club Mac, our all-new cigar lounge at Margaritaville Resort and Casino, Bossier City. All right, as we're getting ready for the next heat of qualifying here in Formula Lights, it's going to be an interesting day. We'll see what happens. Now, let's talk about what happens in the second qualifying heat here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series K in all of our classes. I call it flipping the script, right? When you flip that script, you go from worst to first and first to worst. I believe it provides one of the most unique and dynamic ways to run your qualifying. Because normally, you get out in front, and they just let you stay out there, right? Formula One racing, you qualify, it's fast laps, there's really no qualifying heats. You do have some racing, but they're not doing a second race and then reversing the order of the grid. You know, as a racer yourself, somebody who's been behind the wheel of an American Powerboat Association licensed racing machine, what does it mean to have to drive through traffic like that? I know it's not something you necessarily were doing in the forms of racing that you were running, but imagine what is that like to have to, you know, be the best and then have to start from last off the start pontoon?
Well, as a driver, you know, we talked about this a little bit ago with the last heat, that they have to go through some pretty rough water to be able to maneuver through the rest of the fleet. Also, they're throwing off one heck of a rooster tail. And sometimes you get caught up in that rooster tail, and it's like basically driving down the freeway, no windshield wipers, in a monsoon. So you can't even see what's going on. So you got to try and navigate through traffic, try and get around some of the faster boats, try and get around some drivers that maybe don't want to give you that advantage. They're going to fight for that lane too. And, you know, we've seen it before a couple times where these drivers, unfortunately, can't quite get up onto that podium because they had to start from the back. I've had it before where I've been late to a start, and then I just had to start picking them off one by one. In outboard racing, we only have 3 laps to do it. These guys got like 8 minutes, 10 minutes to be able to try and get around, which could be up to 13 to 14 laps. That 13 to 14 laps can make a huge difference. And I've seen it before. I mean, we saw it with Mark Schmierbach just in the last heat. Started off in the back of the pack, picked him off one by one, getting himself back up onto the podium. That is veteran driving right there.
Absolutely, and you know, it really showcases the different skill sets that are needed, right? Anybody can find the clean water. If they can find the clean water and run out front, that's not all that hard in the whole grand scheme of powerboat racing and the skills needed to be a driver. But then when you place that same driver right through all the wash of all the other boats, there's no clean water, you've really got to step up your game if you want to move up in those heats where you started at the back of the pack. And to me, it's the most unique thing in any form of motorsports racing that I've seen out there today. I don't see anybody else that does what we do here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series, saying, hey, yeah, cool, you're good when you're out front. What do you do when you have to go through everybody? Because I think that really is so important to really showcasing the true scope of what a tunnel boat driver and what a powerboat racer has to do on the water. Because guess what? You may spin out in a corner. You may get stuck down in lane 1 and bog out. You may get pushed way wide to the outside, and now all of a sudden you find yourself shuffled back a few positions. And what this does is it prepares our drivers and really forces them to learn how to navigate and pick off, right, or get by both the other drivers out on the course. And that's something that in a lot of forms of powerboat racing is something that you probably don't see as much of as you may see in other forms of motorsports, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to run right behind a propeller that just pumped a bunch of oxygen by spinning at thousands of revolutions per minute into the water, it all of a sudden now that prop becomes less powerful than it would have been if you could have found some clean water, right?
Exactly. And, I've seen it before where some of these drivers trying to do whatever they can to get around another driver. They're popping on the inside. The door gets slammed by their competitor, so then they have to jump back onto the outside, and they may have to go over the rooster tail. They may have to go through what I call already churned water, which will actually kind of change how the boat handles going through that, because you're going over a roller. It's like wakeboarding. You want to go over the roller because it's going to make you fly up. Not in a race boat, you don't want to do that. I've done it before, and unfortunately I took a couple cartwheels across the water myself. But these drivers do whatever they can to try and maneuver their way through. Then you got back traffic. So you're going to have back traffic. You've got 4 to 5 other boats you're trying to get around in one little tiny turn. I mean, we're using the small course of a 2-boat turn. Some of the courses that we do use are a little bit wider. Some of them have a longer front and back stretch. We talked about it earlier that some of these drivers, their only place that they can make the I guess, position change would be down the front stretch or the back stretch. It's fun to watch all of these drivers, but I got to keep an eye on that Shelby Love. I'm kind of a little bit of a fan of that young lady. And it was, like I said, it was fun to watch her try and get up here for her interview. She was being stopped by all these people to get their pictures. I love it. I'm having fun. Thomas, once again, to all of our family and our friends that are at home watching on the live stream, we do welcome you here. We are here at Shreveport, Louisiana at the Red River Rumble, and it's just been so much fun. We kind of got a little bit of a late start due to some debris going down the river. A little bit better than what you had to deal with last year.
Yeah, it definitely was. The only benefit that we had last year is we had a breeze that was blowing from the Shreveport side directly across the Red River, so it pushed a lot of the debris over to like the far third or the far quarter of the river, which allowed us to keep it relatively clean, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think the Red River is going to be devoid of trees and limbs. It's a big river. It runs a long way. And it's a lot of heavily wooded areas, and just the type of river it is, the bottom of the river, the sand and the silt that make up the Red River, the reason why they call it the Red River, lends itself to a lot of trees and shrubs and other things, being collected by said river, especially when you get some of the torrential downpours that we've seen on the northern portions of the Red River that have now made their way down here to Shreveport before it runs its way into the Mississippi down in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, exactly, and we're watching one that's coming right down the middle of the front or the back stretch right there. I mean, that thing has to be a good 30 feet long. Luckily, it's on the outside of the course, but we're going to try and get that. They're on their way right now. They're going to try and shove that off of the course so our next class can come back out, which is going to be the Formula Lights of their second qualifications. As a little bit of a backtrack, our winner was Shelby Love. Second place went to Babel. Third.
Yeah, that's going to be a battle between those two. They're going to start on the inside and the outside of the last row here in this Formula Lights second qualifying heat. And it's really going to showcase, I think at first you might see the 35 of Mark Schmierbach get out and start moving his way through the traffic a little bit earlier, just because he's such a seasoned professional, right? He's seen basically every type of water, every type of wave he's had to read before. Maybe not every type, right? Waves might be like cards in a deck. You can't shuffle a deck of cards the same way twice.
Exactly, and it's just like the backstretch is not going to look the same in each lap. It changes.
Nope.
You were talking about the differences between NASCAR, sitting on pavement. Yes, there is some changes when, the rubber starts to wear off on the tires, so it does change the dynamic. Also, the temperature changes, affects NASCAR. Well, that doesn't change as much and as quickly as it does when it comes to boat racing. When it comes to boat racing, it's every 50 feet there's a different change in the atmosphere from when it was the time before.
Absolutely. It makes it so much harder to run your line, right? Yeah. Like in racing, we talk about your racing line, that way that you believe is the best way to navigate a race course. Well, if you have 25 laps, you may have 25 different racing lines depending on what the river's given you, where your competitors are at. Obviously, in all forms of motorsports, right, you've got to account for your competitors out on the race course, but nobody else except powerboat racers have to account for the fact that the race course they're on may be more of a harm or more of a difficulty than even some of the drivers out there just navigating the water itself.
Exactly. And, when you put 12 different boats out there, trying to navigate through 12 different boats can just be quite interesting to see. So once again, we are broadcasting live all across the world here with the F1 Powerboat Championships. Make sure you like us onto all of your social media, Instagram, Facebook. Keep an eye on it, and you can also take some time right now while we're waiting for the next class to come out to look back at some of the previous races. We opened the whole season out in Port Neches, Texas. That was the first race. We're here for the second round, or the second race of the series. We got a lot more racing left to go for the rest of the season. We added a new race this year. I believe Maple Falls, Texas is going to be added onto the docket.
Absolutely, and that brings up, let's take a look at the rest of the 2025 calendar. Got a bit of a break here, taking off the month of June. Just our events worked out where we didn't have any events in June here in 2025. So our next stop's actually going to be the third weekend in July 18th through the 20th in Alton, Illinois for the Alton Midwest Nationals. That's just outside of St. Louis on the mighty Mississippi, the home of the Seabold family for numerous years on the Mississippi and Fenton Rivers there in St. Louis, where they made their home for multiple decades. Bill Seabold, the most winningest driver in tunnel boat racing history, inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame. That's been his home for his entire life. Now our CEO, Tim Seabold, his youngest son, now resides at Lake of the Ozarks, but we're going to be in the greater St. Louis area for the Alton Midwest Nationals, July 18th through 20th. And then after that, we head to Marble Falls, Texas in August 1st through 3rd for round number 4. And then we go back to the great state of Colorado for the Roar of the Rockies 2025 edition in middle September. And then we wrap up the season down in Houston, Texas at the Battle on the San Jacinto as we look to crown a champion in our 6-race championship series here in 2025.
Quite the series we're building up here with the F1 Powerboat Championship. I mean, and we get drivers that come from all across the states. And of course Canada. Can't forget our Canadian up there, and his curly hair. He's probably curling his hair up right now. But it's been fun to watch this series grow year after year after year and see these drivers. It's almost like a family reunion on Thursday night when it comes to setup time. Drivers are starting to pull in. They're coming from Florida. They're coming from Nashville, Tennessee. They're making the long drive from California, and and the first thing they do is basically they just jump out of their truck, and then they all start talking about, hey, how was your drive? What do you got going on this weekend? And hey, let's go head out to the hotel and let's go reminisce, because I always talk about this, and I say this often. This one time at a boat race, and you fans, this weekend, you're going to have a whole new set of stories of yourself where you're going to be like, hey, I remember this one time at Shreveport at the race. It was so much fun. And make sure you come back next year. We do plan on coming back for 2026. We are here for the Red River Rumble, and I'm just having a blast. We do have a little bit of a break right now. We are getting our Formula Lights out on the course, and I think, Thomas, you might have spoken too soon about this wind that's popping up, because you can hear it in the microphone.
Yeah, you can, and what's interesting about it is now this is going to shift the debris over to the Shreveport side of the river, so we may have to adjust our course once again. Now, the benefit, with a stronger wind, there's a greater likelihood that the debris may stay out of the course depending on where we place it. The difficulty is we haven't placed a course on that side of the river, so we don't really know where the depths of the river are. We really haven't paid attention to any of the debris flowing between the main support beam here on the river that's just past the halfway part of the course as the drivers are heading north back up river. And so we may have to move over that direction just because of the wind coming this way from the south to the north. But boy, what a nice breeze when you've got high 80s and high humidity here in northwest Louisiana.
Well, me being from the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, I left there. It was sunny. Yes, we do have sunny days up there in Seattle. It was only 55 degrees when I left. So when I stepped off of the plane when I got here on Thursday night at 9:30 at night, I got that woof of this heat. I'm loving it. I'm having fun with it. I've drank I don't know how many gallons of water since I walked in here. Don't have my Diet Pepsi anymore. I really do miss it. But, this water, it's keeping me and you alive. And, I just want to thank all of our race fans for being here. Make sure that you are keeping hydrated. They got lots of cold beverages over there in the VIP center.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, this wind's picking up a little bit here, but we're going to take a quick break here and get the rest of our Formula Lights loaded into the water for their second of 3 qualifying heats here at the Red River Rumble in 2025. So get yourself a little food in your belly, get yourself a quick drink. Don't forget, swing by the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series merchandise tent. We've got all sorts of fantastic things. Like I said earlier, that hat game is strong in 2025. I'm looking at one of the brand new hats from the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series, and they look fantastic. The shirts are great. And all the shirts, they've got kid sizes, infant sizes. I'm going to be a grandfather. I was able to pick up my soon-to-be grandson coming this November's first boat racing T-shirt. That was a weird but enjoyable moment.
Well, and I usually get my daughter a shirt, and I go over there and I pick the shirt up, and then I walk it through the pits with a Sharpie, and I have all the drivers sign it, and she wears that shirt so proudly at school, and she's like, my mom got me this shirt, and then she's got like some of her favorite race fan or her favorite drivers. She's like, where's the signature? Where is it? And I'm like, it's right here. You're good to go. But that's what's fun.
It's become kind of a tradition between the two of you.
It is. I mean, she's got a stack. She's got quite the stack of T-shirts. And
when she leaves high school, normally they make all your sports shirts, right? Yeah. You're going to be able to make her a boat racing blanket out of her old T-shirts from her childhood to take off to college.
I see a lot of boat racers that do that take their shirts and then they do send them off to college with that. I'd have to have like a double shirt. One would be all of her softball jerseys, and the other side could be all of her boat racing.
There you go, half
jerseys.
Softball, half boat racing, the two things that had dominated her life growing up.
Yeah,
whether she liked it or not at times, right? Well, all right,
I don't know
folks.
where she gets her energy from.
Right? Well, hey, grab a quick drink. Gotta love a little breeze, cooling things down here in Shreveport-Bossier. But we're going to kick up some tunes, and we'll be right back with qualifying heat number 2 here in Formula Lights. All right, race fans, welcome back here after a quick break. We've got the Formula Lights back out on the water. Boy, you can see the Red River is throwing everything it can at our drivers here at the second round of the 2025 season. Here it's the Red River Rumble. Again, this is qualifying heat number 2 here in Formula Lights. And this is the thing that Kay and I were talking about. We're flipping that script. The only person who's going to have to start from the back that didn't do well in Heat 1 is the only driver that didn't make the water, the 2 of Travis Thompson. But the rest of the field's going to have to invert itself. So the 24 Shelby Love, she's now going to be back in the pack. Same with the 35 of Mark Schmierbach. And we're going to see the 47 of Dominic Trollian, the 66 of Randy Parch up there towards the front here in this qualifying heat number 2 in Formula Lights.
Yes, and it's like you said, Mother Nature seems to be throwing a lot of daggers at us here this weekend. But these drivers, they are excited. They're out here. They're ready to get racing. How about you, race fans? Are you guys ready to rock and roll? We ready to watch some boats fly? How about you on the other side of the river? Are you all ready to watch some boats fly?
Oh, I heard them. I heard them. All right, yeah, we've got all 7 on the water. We're going to do another rolling start here for qualifying heat number 2. Who's going to get out in front and be able to stay out in front? Can the 24 of Shelby Love run all the way through the pack, or is she going to be stifled by the 35 of Mark Schmierbach? And he's got a little ace in his pocket, right? He's got a teammate here in 2025, so being able to do not necessarily team orders, right? We're not looking to block here, but maybe I don't get out of the way as quickly. Maybe I'd say, hey, I'm in lane 2. I'm going to hold lane 2. And just so happens my teammate is in lane 1 coming up on me, and I'm just going to kind of hang out here, right? And they have every right to do that. This is not something I'm not talking about things that are illegal, right? It's just one of the benefits of having a teammate.
It is, but it is racing. And, we've seen teammates that have said, you know what? I mean, we've seen it numerous times where they've said, so sorry, but, I put the best prop on my boat. I'm going to go out there and get the podium. If you think you're going to get it, you're going to have to work very hard for it. So they may be teammates here on the beach, but when it comes out there on the water, not so much.
All right, looks like we've got him lined up on the back straightaway, getting ready to roll. And it looks like, there he is, the 2 of Travis Thompson is out in front there. Looks like he's going to have to circle back to the back of the pack because he was unable to start in qualifying heat number 1. The 2 of Travis Thompson, unlike showing here on our screen. The grid lineup here for qualifying heat number 2, a little bit off on our live stream, but the man starting on the pole here in qualifying heat number 2. Oh, looks like no, they are allowing the 2 of Travis Thompson to run on that inside of row 1. So he's going to start on the pole here in qualifying heat number 2 with the 47 of Dominic Trollian on his outside hip and the outside of row 2. Then it's the 66 of Randy Parch and that Liquid Revolutions team in third, followed by the 12 of Trident Schleicher, the 35 of Mark Schmierbach, the 60 of Brandon Bobolic, and the 24 of Shelby Love. As they come down the front straightaway, he drops a flag. That's a quick flag by the chief referee, Doug Ray. And here we go, the 2 of Travis Thompson bouncing out in front on the rough water here on the Red River down into turn number 1.
They go 4 deep into turn number 1. That is a tight turn on the inside. It's going to be Randy Parch, but there comes that ever-colorful number 35. That's going to be Mark Schmierbach, a veteran driver. Shelby Love stuck in the back. Watch as she picks them off one by one. But look at the
35 of Schmierbach. They are just bouncing all over the place. The waves are hellacious here for these 14.5-foot long tunnel hulls in the Formula Lights class. But you're right, great move there by the 35 of Schmierbach. There's the 12 of Schleicher. He's up into third. Then the 66 of Parch now has already been shuffled back to fourth here early on. But it's going to be a war of attrition. Can they navigate the waters? Look at how bumpy it is out there. Those pew hulls driven both by the 2 of Thompson and the 35 of Mark Schmierbach as they go down north end of the course. Boy, does that experience help the 35 of Schmierbach really lean into the gas in this rough water, Kay?
And it does, but he's still trying to do everything he can to try and catch up with Travis. Keep in mind, race fans, there's a lot of action going on inside the cockpit of these boats. They have a trim button on the inside of the boat. That's what helps them bring the motor down, or bring the front end down. Well, look, we just saw Trayden. He didn't trim it down quite quick enough. Almost blew that thing over. We don't want to see what happened in 2024 again.
No, the 12 of Schleicher definitely does not want to see the Red River and know it as intimately as he did in 2024 when he got together with the 66 of Randy Parch. But there's the 24 of Shelby Love. I'm so surprised that she's mired way back in 6th position. But again, I think this is that experience that we were talking about earlier. She just doesn't have enough in this really rough water, and so she's probably taking a little bit more conservatively because she gained so many points in qualifying heat number 1.
She is. She picks them off one by one. In one lap, she picked off 2. Now she's trying to do everything she can to get around Randy Parch. Randy's going to go on the outside. She's going to try and sneak in there, but they got to be careful. No spinning out and keep away from those buoys.
Nice job there by the 66 of Parch, holding lane 2, coming out of turn number 4. Giving the 24 of Shelby Love a clean line to run hard down the front straight. But look at the battle we got going down the backstretch. The 2 of Thompson on the outside. The 35 of Mark Schmierbach on the inside. They're going to be pushing hard. Will the 2 of Travis Thompson leave the door open? He does leave the door open for the 35 of Schmierbach. And the veteran out of Wisconsin runs it hard down to the inside. And we've got a new leader out in front here in qualifying heat 2. No surprise. The Pizza Inn machine of Mark Schmierbach out in front here in qualifying heat number 2. Okay, that experience looks like it's paying dividends here in qualifying heat number 2.
Travis Thompson is also a very experienced driver. Now he's sandwiched in between Mark Schmierbach, but here comes Trayton Schleicher coming in quick. Trayton Schleicher trying to jump on the inside, and he almost takes out the back half of the motor.
Yeah, the 2 of Thompson had to go way wide out into lane number 4 to avoid a log down there in the north end of the course. Schleicher tried to think he thought there for a second he had a little sneak attack plan, went down to the inside on turn number 4. But Travis Thompson forced him to cross the wake, and now Schleicher followed a little bit back off the pace, but they're all trying to catch that man right there, the 35 of Mark Schmierbach, finishing in 3rd in qualifying heat number 1, now trying to get a big number 1 next to his name in qualifying heat number 2 here as we've got 2:51 remaining in this 6 minutes plus 1 lap qualifying heat here in Formula Lights.
Mark Schmierbach starting to stretch out his lead just a little bit by Thompson, followed by Trayton Schleicher at number 12, just rocking and rolling down that backstretch. He has got some rough water he's dealing with back there.
Absolutely. They're all pushing hard. There's the 12 of Schleicher. That boat has seen some pretty gnarly damage here on the Red River. If you remember last year, the big collision with the 66 of Randy Parch. But look at the 24 of Shelby Love. Like you said, just methodically, I think she's methodically just picking people off. You think that's something she picked up from that phenomenal race she had at the opening round in 2025 at Port Neches? Because she seems like she did the same thing there.
She's getting more and more comfortable into this boat. It's only a couple years old for her. I remember when she first got into it, they were having some electrical issues, battery issues, but she's, slowly but surely making her way through the pack. You can see how she just glides right through each corner. She's so comfortable inside that boat. It's good to see her out here.
And then let's go back to our leaders. Oh, look, the 2 of Thompson makes a dive down tight to the inside. He knows he's going to running out of time, so he's going to have to make a move. And now here comes the 12 of Trayton Schleicher on his outside hip. And we've got a 3-boat battle coming down the back straightaway. And look at Schleicher go right over a log down in turn number 3. I hope he didn't do too much damage to that boat. Boy, that could have been very dangerous there down in turn number 3.
And it looks like Mark Schmierbach did see that huge log out there, and that's why he jumped on the inside. Boat damage, that could put you out for the rest of the weekend. But just coming back, going from a 1st to a 3rd, maybe in a heat, you can still make up ground. We still got a lot of racing left this weekend. So Mark Schmierbach did a great veteran move by avoiding that huge log out there in the middle of the course.
Yeah, and it looks like the 12 of Trayton Schleicher, we're going to try to get some video footage on the 12 of Schleicher as he's coming down to the start dock. I think he did definitely run over that log down in turn number 4. He came in hot. I think, right, again, here's that experience thing. He sees them back off. He doesn't know what's going on because there's 2 boats in front of him. So he's coming in hot thinking, these guys are chickening out. They're not leaning into it. And all of a sudden, that giant log was right on top of him before he could do anything about it.
You asked me earlier about coming from the back of the pack, moving your way through forward. And one thing that I did mention was trying to navigate through somebody's rooster tail. Right when he came into turn number 2 or 3 and 4, he was a wall of water in front of him. He saw nothing. There's no windshield wipers on the front of these things. There's no yellow lines or white lines to say which lane they can go into. So he basically went into their blind. Unfortunately, might have some damage to that boat. But you know what? He's got one heck of a team over there in Clover Construction. I'm sure that they'll be patching that thing up late tonight. Don't think they'll be doing
and a little birdie told me he's also may have a new boat waiting for him back in California that's more of the carbon fiber variety. So a little bit tougher. The carbon fiber handles the rough water, handles the debris a lot better than those older wood boats. He's still got wood sponsons on that number 12 machine. So hopefully the damage isn't too bad, but clearly he realized he made a boo-boo as soon as he made it, because as soon as he went over that log, we saw the red flag come out because Chief Referee Doug Ray saw something really bad happening and was trying to avoid a lot of damage by multiple boats because he saw that log coming in. Again, safety is the number one priority here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. We've got the 66 of Randy Parch down here on the Shreveport side of the river giving a wave to our fans as we get set here for the restart in qualifying heat number 2. The question is, will the hot dog and Traden Schleicher and that number 12 machine be able to make it back out on the water, or did his enthusiasm as a young driver get the best of him here in qualifying heat number 2?
No restart.
Oh, okay. It looks like we're now at no restart here. We were only a minute left. So that means our winner in qualifying heat number 2, the 35 of Mark Schmierbach, then the 2 of Travis Thompson, because we go back to the last completed lap before the stoppage of the race, and then the 12 of Traden Schleicher up in 3rd, the 24 of Shelby Love in 4th, the 66 of Randy Parch in 5th, the 60 of Brandon Bobolick in 6th, and then rounding out the field, that young driver, the 47 of Dominic Trollian. And, God love him for getting out of here in this gnarly water. He's probably going to go back to Michigan and be like, guys, you have no idea what things were like down in Louisiana. And you know what? But that experience, that learning curve is invaluable for the 47 of Dominic Trollian. It's not something you can get around. You got to go through it, right? You got to learn. You got to take your licks. And so he's out there just putting in the time, putting in the work. And hopefully one day he can find himself battling up there with the likes of Schleicher and Schmierbach and Travis Thompson, as those three really were set up for a battle. I really wish I could have just plucked that log and made it disappear, because the battle we were about to have between those three drivers was going to be maybe not as good as that battle we had in Port Neches, but again, hey, it's only qualifying, right? You got to save something for the final.
Yeah.
But boy, what a nice run there by the 35 of Schmierbach, and you could definitely see that experience played a big part, I think.
They did, and he had to work very hard on those first at least 5 to 6 laps to try and even get up to Travis Thompson. And Travis was basically schooling him around this. It's a little course. This is a very short, tight course for these drivers. We saw it earlier with Dominic Trollian, unfortunately spun out in turn 2. And we talked about it. We have the current. Now, boys and girls, we got the wind. So these drivers have so much on their plate just before they even start the race to, put in a mindset of, okay, now we got rain. Oh, this is going to be even better. I mean, I did not bring this rain, by the way, boys and girls. I am from the Pacific Northwest, but I did not bring the rain.
I promise it wasn't my fault.
It's not my fault. I love sunny weather.
Yeah, and when we talk about that, the wind, right? And in this, again, I try to compare tunnel boat racing for some of our fans who may be newer to powerboat racing. The differences between powerboat racing and car racing, right? Car racing, 4 tires, smooth surface, and your goal is to basically turn those tires into glue.
Yes.
And stick that car to the track, right? So you want as much downforce as humanly possible. It couldn't be more the contrary in powerboat racing, right? You want to lift it up out of the water as much as possible, because water creates drag more than it does create, contact with the surface. Contact with a car can create high-speed turning, high-speed banking, which is important for a race car. The last thing you want is your powerboat, your race boat, to be glued to the water.
Yeah, no.
You got to break it loose. You got to let it fly. And that's why, we'll ask people who are car racing, they're like, dude, what's a little wind? What's the big deal? It's like, well, I'm trying to fly a plane on top of the water. You're driving a car and trying to glue it to the track. 2 diametrically opposed approaches, and it just showcases how difficult powerboat racing is, because there are so many elements that play such a bigger impact.
Well, you were talking about, trying to float these boats on, just a cushion of air. A couple weeks ago, you saw what happens when that little cushion of air gets a little bit too much breeze underneath that, when Jared Jedson decided to take air. I mean, I watched that happen, and I was like, but, thanks to the safety and the quality of these boats, he was able to walk away. I know, I talked to him right afterwards. When these drivers have these accidents, I might have a tendency to get on there and, hey, are you all right? Are you good? And he says he's good. And I said, you going to be able to make it to Shreveport? And he goes, I don't think we can, but I got my eye on, he's got his eye on Alton. He wants to go get
absolutely.
that one.
I mean, there was nobody more distraught than the 29 of Jared Jensen. For those of you here in Shreveport, 29 of Jared Jensen's one of our younger drivers out of Windsor, Colorado, running for Island Lake Marine. He's got a beautiful lime green Hoffman composite hull. Well, we talked about that wind. Well, the wind wasn't super terrible going on the course, but Another element that you don't deal with on a racetrack because there's a fence and a wall around the entire track. Well, when we race on rivers, a lot of times we deal with openings in the edge of the river. Mainly boat ramps can be a real bugaboo for a tunnel boat, and that's exactly what happened to the 29 of Jared Jensen. He's running in testing on Friday at the opening round. He's running flat out, and he is boogieing down the front stretch, and the wind was starting to blow in from the western side of the Natchez River, or Natchez River. I've been told that I pronounce it Port Natchez, and it should be Port Natchez.
I saw that post.
Yes. For those of you in Port Natchez, if you are watching, I'm trying. I apologize. Don't blame a northerner for his inability to perfectly pronounce things from the south. Just like I wouldn't expect anybody from the south to try to pronounce Oconomowoc or Owatonna.
Bless you.
Right, correct. Lovely names that we get in the upper Midwest. Just like our folks like Trident Schleicher from Rhinelander, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. From Greenfield, Wisconsin. You think we're the lands of Andersons and Johnsons, and we are, right? The Nordic heritage is quite prevalent in the upper Midwest, but there's a lot of good German and Polish names and whatnot as well. But we get back to what we were talking about. That wind just blew across the river, and instead of it hitting the kind of the shore of the river and acting like it does at the rest of the course, that wind coming across has a little bit of a different attitude, and that just showcases how razor thin that edge is that they're on, because he was flying, and 1 second he was good, and the next second he was upside down, and his boat was broke into a bunch of pieces.
Well, you heard it in both of our microphones that the wind is picking up here just a little bit. And, a little bit ago we did hear the first set of wind, the first gust came through, and I just kind of had basically a heart stopper because it was going downriver. So these drivers are going to be basically going head into the wind. It shifted a little bit, and now it's kind of going across the river, which is going to give these drivers, once they start floating it on the cushion of air, they basically, we've seen a lot of these drivers, they just want to float on basically 3 blades on the prop. They want the rest of the boat out of the water. And if they get that starts to make the boat quite squirrely. We've seen it, unfortunately, a few times where these boats have crashed, flipped. I even watched one submarine in Chelan, Washington. There's some great pictures of that, of one of our Canadian drivers that races with us. And, it's interesting to see, but we're going to try and get some of our boats back out onto the water. A reminder, make sure you jump onto your social media, go to F1 Powerboat Championship. Like us on all your social media, Facebook, Instagram, and we're also live on the YouTube channel. If you are listening from across the states, make sure that you chime in and punch in where you are listening from. It's always fun to see. We've got drivers here at Shreveport that are from Florida, California, Wisconsin, Michigan, all across the states here. But we also want to thank all of our race fans for being there, watching us live. We're going to go ahead and get us a little interview with some experienced driver here with Mark Schmierbach. Mark, that was one heck of a run that you had to battle with, and Travis was like right onto your heels the whole time, and you finally got around him. What did you have to do in turn 2 to make yourself around him?
Well, the biggest thing is I had to get around him. So I drove my butt off to get around him, and then it was my show. He had to make the mistake. He had to go around me, and I was just out there surviving. Trust me, it's really rough. And when I saw that big tree there, man, I'm glad they stopped it because I dove to the inside. That was the only play I had. That was a tree.
Yeah, we did talk about that because at first I thought maybe you had engine problems or something, and then I from up here with the angle that I had, then I saw the tree that you were trying to avoid. We talked about it when you guys were going back into the pits. I said, you know what, a broken boat's going to take all weekend to fix, but going from first to third, you can still work your way through and get yourself up onto the podium.
It's still tough, especially on rolling starts. I still wish the fans could see the dock start. That's really our play for tunnel boat racing. I mean, it's so exciting, and the fans really like it. The rolling starts are just kind of tricky. I'm not a fan of them, but but you have to get through it.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, with the way the current is, that's why we had to make a little bit of a change, some last-minute changes from going from the dock. The plan originally was to have a dock start, but with this current that we're dealing with, they decided to, for your safety and for the safety of all the other drivers in the Formula Lights, to go with the rolling start. And, you know, in the past, we've had to do a rolling start because of an accident, and, you know, we've seen a few of those happen. But, you know, you did a wonderful job with that rolling start. You just started to take off and started to take off jobs. Did you realize that Traden was right on your tail?
Yeah, I do it. There's not much you can do. It's such a short course. So you fight for every position you got. And I got to give kudos to the referee and the officials, Tim and John, we've got adverse conditions. Just you can't believe how bad it is out there, and we can still put on a show. And whatever they want to do, I'll do.
All right. Well, congratulations on your first checkered flag of the weekend. Unfortunately, we are going to go get you back over to the pits. We're going to go maybe see you go help out. And Traden's got some boat damage. You going to go up there and go help him out?
Yeah. Okay.
Congratulations, Mark Schmierbach, the 35 of Pizza Inn.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry, got it. All right, yeah, always good to hear from the 35 of Mark Schmierbach. And you, right, exactly what we were talking about. He was like, yeah, I see that log. And he backed off, and it was like, all right, tried, cool, man. Hey, you want to come in here like a hot dog and run that thing over? Be my guest. And I have a feeling that when they pulled that boat off the water on the crane and he got out of it, Trident was like, yeah, that's on me, man. That's my fault.
That's another roll of duct tape.
Hey, you know, I mean, hey, that's what happens with a lot of young guns. They come in with a lot of gusto, right? He's the defending series champion. He's got a lot of confidence. But overconfidence is something that can be very detrimental. And when you're, you know, the young age that the 2012 of Trident Schleicher is, he's not 12, it's number 12 on the side of his boat, but he's young and he hasn't experienced all that and he hasn't seen all that. So again, like we were talking about, he saw them slowing down and was like, oh, they can't handle the water. I'm going to get them.
Yeah.
No, buddy, there was an 8-foot log right in front of them. And now he's paying the price for it. So it's probably going to be a long night for the 12 of Schleicher, but I will say this. He's pretty good about getting his hands dirty when he's the cause of it. If you remember last year, he got in that big wreck with the 66 of Randy Parch, and he was back racing on Sunday. He thrashed all night. The team helped him, but he was definitely at the core of all that work, and it sounds like he's going to have another long night tonight as he ran over that log down on the north end of the course. But we're getting the Texas Tri-Hulls back out on the water here for their second qualifying heat here on Saturday, qualifying at round 2 of the 2025 Formula One Powerboat Championship Series here at the Red River Rumble, downtown Shreveport-Bossier, Louisiana. We'll be right back with more racing after this. Thank you to the Red River Waterway Commission for being a sponsor of the 2025 Red River Rumble Formula One Powerboat Showdown here in Shreveport-Bossier, Louisiana. JH Performance Boats, custom-made classic shallow water boats built from scratch, offering a direct and personalized experience from start to finish. They provide exceptional service and support, having an unmatched reputation while paying close attention to detail with quality construction, expert knowledge, and outstanding performance.
Shreveport Aquarium. Get up close to touch and feed the friendly stingrays in a memorable hands-on encounter. It's lunchtime for the sharks, Fridays and Mondays at 2:30. Come check out the unique feeding behaviors in these incredible predators.
Margaritaville, the exclusive casino sponsor for the 2025 Red River Rumble Formula One Powerboat Showdown here in Shreveport-Bossier, Louisiana. Taste the good life at Drago's, the area's best seafood restaurant, and their famous charbroiled oysters. Check out Club Mac, their all-new cigar lounge at Margaritaville Resort and Casino in Bossier City.
Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. When you're heading home after the race, head on in to Raising Cane's. Their hand-breaded chicken fingers and delicious secret sauce is the perfect way to feed your appetite. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
All right, and we're back. Big shout out to all of our fantastic sponsors. There's so many more that we'll be thanking throughout the weekend, and that wouldn't be possible without them, right? All the folks here that are locally, all our series sponsors that are with us at every race all year long. We thank you so much. And it's so fantastic to have such great sponsors and such great support, especially here from the local Shreveport-Bossier community.
Yes, so if you want to be added onto the list for 2026, make sure you reach out to F1 Powerboat Championships and say, hey, you know what? I want to have my name of my company broadcasted not only here on the shores of the Shreveport and the Red River, but all around the world. We are live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I call these floating billboards. You've heard me talk about this because a lot of these drivers are driving across the states, across the country. We got Canada. I mean, he drove here with a sponsor listed right on the side of his boat. If you want to do that, make sure you walk on over into the pits or reach out to these drivers and say, hey, what's it going to take to put my company on the side of your boat?
Right. Yeah. I mean, have you ever met anybody that saw one of our Formula One boats on the way to a race and didn't ask them, dude, what is that thing?
I've had
oh my
that
God,
experience.
that thing looks amazing. That looks so cool. It looks fast just sitting there.
Yeah, I've had that experience because I've driven over the many years of my racing from Seattle to Michigan to California, and we're at a gas station and we're just trying to get to the race. But, then somebody comes up and says, how does this work? And then, of course, doors start opening and then we start telling them how to get involved.
It is the boat racing way, right? It's funny. We talk about the boat racing way. Last night, some of the staff, we were chatting and somebody was like, man, I'm really hungry. I've really needed to eat for a couple of hours already. And I was like, have you not been to a boat race before?
Yeah, you can count on one hand and one weekend of how many times you actually get time to eat.
Yeah, right. And at the end of the day, like if you're hungry, you need to go eat because otherwise you're going to get locked into story after story after story because we're such a tight-knit community. We all know one another so well. I mean, there are people that I work with here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series that I have literally known the entirety of the 41 years I have been on this earth. And that to me is special. I don't know how much you can say about that with NASCAR or with IndyCar or with Formula One, right? It just does not have that family feel like we have here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series.
Exactly. You talk about family and about how we work together. And Grant Schubert, unfortunately, hit a log yesterday and put a giant hole in the bottom of his boat. Last night, I walked over to the pits to see how things were going because he's doing a complete hull change where he has to make a lot of changes. I saw like 4 or 5 different teams all in there, all helping him out. They're all out there helping out the Outlaw because I think everybody wants to be part of that Outlaw group.
Yeah, either that or they're trying to find any tip and trick that they can steal from the Outlaw team because they've got the number one driver right now. They had the number one driver in 2024. They had the defending champion of the Red River Rumble all on the same team. So maybe they're trying to steal a few little ideas or things that are going to put them over the top here in 2025.
Exactly. And that's just how we work together. If one boat is down, there's at least 5 or 6 other teams that are in there. If you yourself as fans have maybe some knowledge when it comes to, working fiberglass, carbon fiber, working on marine boats, motors, or anything like that, maybe you step on over into the pits and go talk to these drivers, stick your head inside the boat and say, hey, maybe I can help you out with that electrical issue that you have with that interstate battery. Or, maybe I can help you out with that Johnson motor, Evinrude motor. Of course, we got the Mercury motors over there. That's like the hot commodity.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we've got a great sponsor on one of our drivers, the Formula Light 66 of Randy Parts, sponsored by Anti-Gravity Batteries. So if you need an extra battery, I know he's got a truck full of them. They've been a great sponsor for the 66 of Randy Parts and that Liquid Revolutions racing team. And he's just excited that he got through 2 qualifying heats and didn't end up with a giant hole in his boat and upside down. Yeah. So an improvement right now. He got together in Port Neches with a couple of different drivers. I think one in particular that got into him and did some pretty decent damage to the boat. So, he went back into to his shop in Florida, completely overhauled and fixed the boat. And I can imagine the last thing he wanted to do is like, oh no, please don't rip this thing with a log. So he's maybe taking it again. Wants to get to the final. Didn't get to race in the finals here last year, but right now we've got a final here in qualifying heat number 2 to conclude here at the Red River Rumble in Texas Tri-Hull. And let's take a look at that starting lineup. On the inside of row 1, they call him Caddy, the number 54 of Darren Ware. On the outside of row 1, the youngest driver in Tri-Hall history at 14 years young. Out of Houma, Louisiana, the 03 of Austin Terry, son of Formula One champion from 2024, Dustin Terry. Where did he get his start? Right here in Tri-Hall. Maybe the 03 of Austin Terry can work his way through Tri-Hall and be the next Formula One champion a few years out into the distant future, but he comes second. Third is the 12 of Jack Schubert. Fourth is the 26 of Briston Sherman. Fifth, the 88 of Josh Wells. And sixth, the 69 of Cole Waring. And the rest of the field here. Let's see who's going to win qualifying heat number 2 here in Texas Tri-Hall. And he drops the oh no, he does not drop the flag. Great job. He drops the flag there, and they're off. Can the 13 of Grant Schubert and the 17 of Neil Marsh do a battle all the way through the field? Let's going to see what happened down there at the south end of the course. No surprise, they're all over each other. But out in front, what a great move there by the 26 of Briston Sherman in that Ray Bob seasoning machine. Where did he come from? He was shot like out of a cannon here on the start of this Tri-Hall.
Neil Marsh, one of your leading drivers, unfortunately got tangled up with the 37 of Rinker. Now they're starting to bump boats. And
he misses a buoy. The 17 of Neil Marsh has got to circle back. That's only the second time in his last 3 seasons that he has done that. It's not something that he does very often. Very uncharacteristic. But it looks like he tried to follow the 13 of Grant Schubert down in and just got the other side of the buoy after it bounced back off the wave after the 13 of Schubert got through the corner cleanly.
And it looks like Green, the number 26. I think he needs to repaint that boat green since he's going to be the Green with the last name. He's going to be your leader coming down the front stretch, followed by the 54, the 1 of Corey Walker. And keep an eye out on that number 12 boat.
Yeah, there he is there. He's in that Plantation Ace hardware machine. That's the younger brother of Grant Schubert, the 12 of Jack Schubert. He goes wide to the outside. Now his brother tries to get into him, but he bangs into the number 10 of Tanner Rinker, and he gets shuffled back a couple more. There's our leader now, the 26 of Briston Sherman in that Ray Bob seasoning machine with the caddy of Darren Ware right behind him. And then the 1 of Corey Walker still sitting in third. Oh no, look out there. The 10 of Tanner Rinker almost goes over down to the north end of the course. But he saved it. What a great save there by the 10 of Tanner Rinker.
That turn 2 seems to be one that they could not seem to navigate around. It's a 1 buoy turn, but I'm seeing some debris coming through the middle of this course. That's going to be something these guys are going to have to keep an eye out as they come down the front stretch.
If anybody's built to handle a little bit of debris, it's the Texas Tri-Halls as we see the battle there for 4th and 5th. Between the brothers Schubert, that's the 13 of Grant Schubert in 5th position, and the 12 of Jack Schubert in 4th. Now there's our leader flashing on the back straightaway, the 1 of Sherman, the 26 of Sherman, then the 54 of Darren Ware, and the 1 of Corey Walker in the 4-stroke on the back of that number 1 machine, holding down that 3rd and final podium spot here in qualifying heat number 2. Let's stay with the let's stay with the Schuberts here. This could be a fun little adventure in brotherhood, love-hate relationships, as the 12 of Jack Schubert is still holding off his older brother, the 13 of Grant Schubert. There we go, overhead. What a fantastic shot with our drone. The 13 of Grant Schubert, he's going tight to the inside. Oh, and here might be his move. No, the 12 of Jack Schubert. You see that? He just slid it in there. Was like, hey, bro, I don't think so. Gave him a hip check to the inside. What a great move by the young driver out of Richmond, Texas.
I don't think there's any brotherly love going on right there because they're going to nail each other again going through turn number 2. And right behind them, we got the second set of brotherly love, quote-unquote, unlove, of the Rinkers of Tanner and Mason Rinker. White flag is up. We got 1 lap to go.
Here's the 26 of Briston Sherman. Brings it down out of turn number 1. Heading north back up river into this turbulent current here on the Red River. That's why I think turn 2 has been so diabolical here in this second qualifying heat of Texas Tri-Hall with a man who's had no problems navigating. He came out like a rocket. And ladies and gentlemen, going almost wire to wire after an unbelievable move in the opening turn, taking the checkered flag in qualifying heat number 2, the number 26 of Briston Sherman.
And it looks to be Darren Ware in the 54 in second, but right behind him, Cole almost got him on that checkered flag.
And rounding out the top 3, the number 1 of Corey Walker. You know who I didn't see out here was the 69 of Cole Mullet Waring. What happened to Mullet? He didn't show up here. Now, we talked about that newer, lighter boat, right? The problem with that could be that lighter boat is not going to be able to handle the pounding from the debris in the river here that he's accustomed to in his older Tri-Hall that was a little beefier, right? A little thicker. It could just take more of a beating. Obviously, every driver is going to try to set up their boat with the weight and everything to try to give them the optimal ability to, be a champion. And maybe that thinner layup might have caused some damage, because I did not see the 69 Nicole Waring out there, and that has got to be unfortunate for that driver, because he shows there in 10th, but of course him and the 63 of Aaron Green did not fire either. So we lost 2 drivers here. Again, we talked about this is going to be a war of attrition here in 2025. The winds are up, the debris is rolling, the river is hauling butt. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But what a great run there for the 26 of Briston Sherman. He really needed those points desperately. And you know who really took it in the teeth there in qualifying heat number 2? The 17 of Neil Marsh. That might have been his worst finish in quite a long time. Look at the drone footage there by the great folks at Live Race Media. What fantastic shots there of the Bally's Casino right here in downtown Shreveport. Neil is absolutely fantastic. And again, our drone pilots, this is the type of skill set that our drone pilots with Live Race Media. Neil is licensed by the FAA, the Federal Aviation something. Look at that, him flying through the bridge there on the south end of the course. What an unbelievable set of skills to be able to navigate that drone. And again, this is not your drone from Walmart or Target. This is a custom-built carbon fiber drone that you could balance on one fingertip, and it can run at speeds in excess of 135 miles an hour. That means it can chase down one of our boats, turn around, and then shoot video of the boat turning in the corner. And have the skill and ability to do that is unbelievable. Now, one thing as you can see, they're out there talking about the course, looking at the debris, kind of trying to manage things. So one thing you're going to notice here, ladies and gentlemen, is if you look way down to the far south end of the course, you're going to see 2 orange buoys on the other side of that train bridge. Not initially planned. However, based on the current and the way it's carrying the debris downriver, we are finding that most of the debris is floating to the other side of the river. The other side of the river, once it gets past the bridge here that was on the north end of the course. Right now, it's kind of a bookend or an end of the course on the north side. But once it gets past that bridge, it really, even with the wind, it's starting to migrate its way off course. So we were given permission. Thank you, Red River Waterway Commission. Fantastic partner. Understanding that we got to pivot here midday on Saturday qualifying here at the Red River Rumble. Gave us the permission, which we initially didn't have, and they've got to work with, there's military bases. There's a lot of things in play here. Case in point, our drone can't go past that train bridge. And that's not something that we can do anything about. That's not something that our drone pilot's going to risk losing his FAA license over. About. It's one of those things, hey, we got to pivot, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of cool shots we get from qualifying heat number 1 in the Formula 1 class. But boy, was that a doozy in Tri-Hall. I mean, isn't it always?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was talking to some of the fans, and they were asking, about the different styles and racing that we have here this weekend. And of course I was talking about, we got our younger kids and we got the Formula Lights that are a lot of fun to watch with a smaller course. And I said, then we got these tri-hull things. There's just bumper boats on water, and it is just so much fun to watch. I mean, these drivers, if you can look at like the drone view, you look inside of the cockpit of these, the hands are going left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, trying to, maneuver through the water, and it gets super rough by the time that they are done with their final.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The water gets real churned up. All right, well, joining me now here, Kay, absolutely. You're totally right here in the Texas Tri-Hall, but joining me now, the man who shot himself out of a cannon in qualifying heat number 2, the 26 of Briston Sherman. First off, Briston, what happened down there in turn 1? Everybody else seemed like they just stopped, and you just took off.
Man, this water's a little something different to learn. A lot of current here. We're not used to at all of our races, so kind of had a feeling going in there, if you kind of take it slow and float it past that buoy, everybody else is going to pass it up. And sure enough, they kind of shot a little far and left me a hole on the inside, and I took advantage of it.
Down to the inside, and then that was all she wrote. You ran it wire to wire from there. One thing I did want to get your insight in, it appeared to me that the north end of the course was really where there was a lot of struggle in turn number 2. When you go to set the boat in that turn, is the river pushing you into the buoy?
Yeah, the river water brings you back towards the buoy, so if you misjudge the turn and try to go right on lane 1, you're going to wind up on the buoy lane, not your turning lane.
Absolutely, and I think, for a driver like yourself, with a new Ray Bob seasoning sponsor here in 2025, you've really been making some moves. You know, you got one up on your buddy Cole, who wasn't able to run here in qualifying heat 2, got some fantastic points. What would it mean to you to end up on the podium with the likes of Neil Marsh and Grant Schubert and some of those top drivers here over the last few years here in Texas Tri-Hall?
Oh, it'd be incredible at this race. I mean, if I could get that podium spot right above Grant, that would just top it all off.
Yes, I have a feeling that Smack Talk on the way back to Houston would be at a very high level.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, hey, this is Briston Sherman. He was the winner of qualifying heat number 2. RayBobSeasoning.com is the sponsor on the side of his orange and white Texas Tri-Hall. Can he win qualifying heat 3? Can he get himself on pole position? And can that be his position at the end of the weekend? We'll find out. More racing coming up after this.
It's time to shake things up and have some fun. At Margaritaville, Bossier City, the good times are overflowing with new dining options for every craving. Watch the biggest plays and win big at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Catch a live show year-round. And when it's time to settle in, our updated hotel rooms are the perfect place to unwind. Come for the thrill, stay for the flavor, and relax in total comfort. Margaritaville, Bossier City. Come have some fun.
Moto Marketing Group, accelerating brands for over 35 years. From developing some of the most famous boat and race team graphics that look fast to websites that run fast. Moto Marketing Group is your one-stop marketing shop for branding, vehicle wraps, websites, photography, and print design. They do it all professionally for a great price. Check them out online at motomarketinggroup.com.
Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission, a special thanks for co-hosting this event here at the Red River Rumble.
VP Racing Fuels, the official fuel of the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. VP Racing Fuels has been the fuel choice of champions for decades. Now you can benefit from VP's expanded line of performance additives for your boat, daily driver, or weekend warrior. Learn more about their ultramarine and explore VP's full product line at vpracingfuels.com.
Conterra Networks, delivering lightning-fast internet to keep your business running at a speed of today's world.
LSU Shreveport Foundation, a proud sponsor of the 2025 Red River Rumble Formula One Powerboat Showdown here in Shreveport-Bossier. LSU Shreveport Foundation, go Pilots. Thank you to the Red River Waterway Commission for being a sponsor of the 2025 Red River Rumble Formula One Powerboat Showdown here in Shreveport-Bossier, Louisiana. JH Performance Boats, custom-made classic shallow water boats built from scratch, offering a direct and personalized experience from start to finish. They provide exceptional service and support, having an unmatched reputation while paying close attention to detail with quality construction, expert knowledge, and outstanding performance.
Shreveport Aquarium, get up close to touch and feed the friendly stingrays in a memorable hands-on encounter. It's lunchtime for the sharks, Fridays and Mondays at 2:30. Come check out the unique feeding behaviors in these incredible predators.
Margaritaville, the exclusive casino sponsor for the 2025 Red River Rumble Formula One Powerboat Showdown here in Shreveport-Bossier, Louisiana. Taste the good life at Dragos, the area's best seafood restaurant, and their famous charbroiled oysters. Check out Club Mac, their all-new cigar lounge at Margaritaville Resort and Casino in Bossier City.
Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. When you're heading home after the race, head on in to Raising Cane's. Their hand-breaded chicken fingers and delicious secret sauce is the perfect way to feed your appetite. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.
All right, race fans, so we've got 2 heats of Formula Lights. Check. 2 heats of Tri-Hull. Check. What's coming up next? The Formula Ones. They're going to be running out here on the river in excess of 120 miles an hour. Well, maybe not 120 in these kinds of conditions, but they're going to be looking to survive their first qualifying heat here on qualifying Saturday at round 2 of the 2025 Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. Again, don't forget to check us out at F1PowerboatChampionship.com. You can, F1PowerboatChampionship.com. Also follow us on our social all our social platforms. You can find us at F1 Powerboat Racing, especially on YouTube, where we're streaming live right now. So for all of our fans all across the world, hello and welcome to Shreveport-Bossier. What a beautiful community here, and what a fantastic weather, right? Now, the river, rough. The projected weather, 93 and humid as all get up, did not happen today. I don't think we've broken 90 yet, which for Louisiana in May, I was talking to a few of the folks here. They were like, dude, this is so nice. It's so beautiful out here. I mean, we've got droves of people lining both sides of the river, enjoying the fantastic powerboat racing today. And they're coming out in droves because they don't normally get weather like this. I have a feeling tonight, Mudbug Madness in conjunction with the Red River Rumble, fantastic 41st annual Mudbug Madness here. I believe it's one of, or if not the largest crawfish festival in the state of Louisiana, the state that is the king of crawfish. What a fantastic event they're going to have going late into the night with jamming music and spicy crawfish that you can eat till your heart's desired.
Well, being from the Pacific Northwest, I have yet to have crawfish. I'm excited. I want to go over there. Also, going to try and see if I can find a good restaurant with some gator bites. Been wanting to have some of that.
Oh, they got those over there at the Mudbug Madness as well. So all of our fans here, don't forget, when racing concludes today, don't get in your car and go home. Don't go back to the burbs. Nope, just walk up the hill a couple of blocks and hop into the Mudbug Madness. With a super cool venue they've got. It's underneath the road. I don't know what it used to be, but it's set down below the rest of the downtown area here in Shreveport, and it's a really cool thing to see. Zydeco music and a lot of Louisiana heritage really on display at the Mudbug Madness and the Red River Rumble here. And look at there, our first boat on the water, the man out of Nashville, Tennessee, the 17 of Dylan Anderson. As he waves to the crowd, can the 17 of Dylan Anderson right the ship after round one? So let's get into it, right? I told all of our fans on Friday when I posted our standings after round one, and we were very careful with the release of our points after round one, because the winner of round one, the 17 of Dylan Anderson, was stripped of all of his points after the win. An unfortunate incident. It was a complete accident, if you will. I know that's hard, but there are a lot of very little tiny things that have to be very precise on these high-powered performance engines to ensure that they comply with all of the rules. An accident or not, and I give him all the credit in the world for taking it on the chin like a pro. He had to walk away with a trophy, but 0 points after winning the Port Neches Riverfest due to an engine infraction. And so he's really under the gun here at the round number 2, because, again, this is the guy who's been second the last 3 years and was third the year before that. After round one, immediately after round one, we thought, boy, this is the year of Dylan Anderson, and maybe it just isn't.
Well, the fun part about him is in 2019, he went back into the barn at his house, took his dad back there and said, Dad, his dad used to race. He said, Dad, I want to bring that thing back out. So the first year he raced his dad's boat. Then he went out and got another boat. And I believe Havasu in 2013, he got another boat. I mean, how do I get on that list to be getting new boats every couple years?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of drivers out there that would love to know that same exact question. But, that just goes to show the support of the Anderson family. Ray Anderson, one of the most dynamic powerboat racers. For one, if nothing else, then he was a trailblazer. And he brought the Yamaha power plant to tunnel boat racing. And while the Yamaha doesn't necessarily make a motor that's typically in specs with the Mercury, it's a little bit different. And with our newer rules on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series, they had to retire the Yamaha outboard. But he was the first one to bring a Yamaha high-performance outboard to tunnel boat racing, and a trailblazer is what you have to call Ray Anderson. He's a fantastic crew chief now and team owner, and you can definitely tell that he has been able to pass on that skill set that he learned and honed over multiple decades down to the next generation. And it sounds like his son Dylan is doing the same thing with his new grandson. He's at every race. He's in and out of the boat. And again, the heritage, the multi-generations that we see here in powerboat racing, because it's such a unique skill set, is just a fantastic thing to see.
APBA has been around since back in the 50s, and announcing across the states, I did announce different kinds of hydroplane racing. I'm now starting to announce 5th generation drivers out on the course. 5th generations. I'm third. My daughter would have been 4th. I mean, 5th generation drivers. That just shows that it's being handed down from one generation to another. Another thing is sometimes you see these guys, and I'm like, how did you get involved in boat racing? He's like, well, I kind of drove by my neighbor's house, and they had these boats out there, so I went over there and asked him how does this work? The guy said, well, you're going to find out because you're going to be bringing some some wet shoes, and you're going to come to the race with me. Then they're pitting for a year, and then next year they're inside the boat. We've seen that. Cole Waring, that's how he got involved. He was over there sweeping floors over there for the Schubert family, and then he decided, I'm going to do this myself. I'm sick of working on your stuff.
Yeah, it's a unique skill set. It's a very tight-knit family, and I think the drive to continue to be a part of that larger family that is tunnel boat racing, or that is powerboat racing in general. Because please believe, if we're racing with offshore guys, if we're racing with the Unlimiteds or the Grand Prix or the stock outboard classes, if anybody needs help, there's more people than they have more people helping than they actually need. People walk over in droves. Hey, can I grind on the boat? Can I fix your prop? What do you need help with? And it really speaks to the unique dynamic that is the American Powerboat Association and powerboat racers across the globe.
It does. It takes a team to be able to make this work. You've got, a prop builder, Dave DeWald. You hear that name all the time. Dave DeWald, he helps out. And then what happens is Dave will send out a prop to all of a couple of our drivers. They'll test it out. The driver will go back to Dave and say, Dave DeWald, I think that this one's just a little squirrely. Let's make some adjustments, And then you've got your electrical person in your crew. They're the ones that are able to make sure that, all the electrical components, whether it be the battery, whether it be, just any kind of component in there. You've also got your boat builder. You've got all those boat builders that are out there that are working together to say, okay, this driver's fairly new. We're going to kind of keep it a little bit on the tame side, and then there's those boat builders end up turning around and fixing the boats like we just saw with Grant Schubert. He's going to have to get that boat fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a fantastic family to be a part of. I've been blessed to be a part of it for my entire 41 years of existence here on planet Earth. And, it's a different kind of family, right? Yeah. And I had a chance to chat with our chaplain, Lori Vidal, this morning while we were eating breakfast. And he said, Tom, it's really funny. As well as we know each other, if somebody from the outside were to look at our daily lives, they would be like, you guys really don't know each other that well. And I would say, you know what, that's fair. I mean, I don't know what Lori does in his daily life, running his church down in Florida. I've never been to his house. I've never eaten dinner with his family. But if Lori Vidal needed anything, I would drop in a minute to help the man.
Oh, exactly. And he would too. He'd do it to us.
Absolutely. He's here. I mean, I can't tell you the countless times I've seen him give, counseling and support to all our drivers, whether they're having a rough weekend, they got in a big wreck, they had a close friend in a big wreck, they just needed a pick-me-up, they needed a hug, right? He's very involved with all the drivers, but, when we were talking about it, he was like, somebody would say that from the outside, and I would turn around and say, like, well, okay, fair, maybe not in my day-to-day life, but the intense moments that we share on a regular basis, on the race course, whether it be if something happens at a race or just the tensions and the emotions that run so high in a stressful environment like a Formula One Powerboat Championship race, really gives you a different, unique dynamic to your friendship. And I completely agree with him. It was weird for this conversation to transpire this morning, but I greatly appreciated it because it really put into context that you can have really close friends that really don't know much about your daily life, but you would still go to the ends of the earth for them.
Exactly. I mean, you would see them just like, okay, hey, what do you need? What can I help you to get out on the course? Or you see somebody who says, I'm just not with it today. I just feel like I'm just off key. And then what's going to happen? They're going to walk up to each other, give a high five, and say, hey, you got this. And it's fun to see. You're talking about all the different things that these people do, all of our drivers do, just on their daily life. We talked about that with Dustin Terry. Just opened up a brand new restaurant, and you work with computers. I work at a CPA office. All of these drivers come together from across the United States, and they bring in such a great atmosphere and so much great unique talent. I guess you could say unique talent or unique personalities. That's what I was looking for, was a unique personality.
Well, you definitely have a lot of those in tunnel boat racing and boat racing in general. It's some of the personalities are a little bit more tolerable than others, and it might not necessarily be the personality, but the situation that they're in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But again, there's a, it's like siblings, right? You yell at them, you scream at them, you hate them for 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes later you're giving each other a hug, and one of them's grabbing a grinder, and the other one's, and they're hopping underneath the boat, getting dirty, grinding on the boat to fix a boat that's not even theirs, right? So we really do love the family that we're a part of. And, I am super excited that I've gotten to know so many people here in the Shreveport-Bossier community. For a northerner, both of us live just a few hours from the Canadian border. So I guess we're both northerners. Granted, you live in that, rainforest up there in the Pacific Northwest. I live in the frozen tundra of Minnesota.
It was nice.
But at the end of the day, the people here have been so welcoming. As soon as they find out who we are, they're peppering you with questions. They want to know more. They want to be in the know. And, of course, we're more than happy to oblige and talk about boat racing. That's why we're here, right? This isn't our full-time jobs.
No. Well,
but we love it nonetheless, and we're here taking time, away from our families, from our regular lives, from our children, right? And we don't take that stuff lightly. But that's, the power that is the boat racing family is just something that's, it's ingrained in who we are, and it's a part of who we are. And so I appreciate that our families allow us to come do this, and I love that we get embraced by these communities like we're one of their own.
Well, and you talked about how we're handing things down and how we get involved in the sport. I got involved in the sport because I was darn near born at a race. You were at the races watching your dad announcing. When my
Absolutely.
dad could no longer race anymore, he decided to start announcing. And then I was at a race of my own, and they said, "Hey, can you announce? Because your dad usually did this race." And I was like, "Yeah, I can figure this out somehow." And I was
in the same boat.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, I can try this out. And then I went to the race, and I announced for a couple races, and then I just kind of has expanded from there. I've been so blessed to be able to go across the states. I've also gone to Manzanillo, Mexico. I've gone to Dubai to announce. I've gone all across the world. And I've met so many wonderful people, you included. I've learned so much, and I still continue to learn from you.
You didn't have 20 years of sitting next to, in my opinion, the greatest tunnel boat announcer the world has ever seen.
Yes, I've heard so much about him.
Hey, they called him the mouth from the south for a reason.
Yeah.
And he definitely gave me some big shoes to fill. And Dad, if you're watching from up there, I hope that you're proud.
He's probably sitting with my dad up there, and they're probably critiquing us. Is what
right? There's the whole group of them, right? There's the whole group of them up there, and they're screaming and yelling at each other, and they're arguing, and then they're hugging, and they're having a great time. Because again, that's what the boat racing community is all about.
Well, and you talk about all these drivers, these past drivers that are sitting up there. We recently, in the Pacific Northwest, just lost a very, very important driver to the community of not only boat racing, but anything in the automotive world of automotive racing. Steve Huff of Huff Racing, unfortunately, passed from cancer on Wednesday night. I got the phone call late, and it was just like, it just kind of hit like a brick wall because of how much he's done for the sport.
We've lost a couple of them here recently.
Yeah, we did. It's because it's been kind of a weird weekend. But, I know Steve's up there. I know he's up there watching because, there's racing going on all across the world right now.
Yeah, and, when we talk about those great people in powerboat racing and the impact that they've had, and we look there at the Rinker Boat World number 52 of Chris Rinker. John Rinker, his uncle, has put so many people in the butts of tunnel boats. He's put so many powerboat racers on the map. You look at the likes of Terry Rinker, his son's Ashton, his nephew Chris Rinker, who's out here now, Tanner and Mason Rinker, right? His sons, the multi-generations. There's so many people that, just like Mr. Huff, impacted.
Yeah.
So did John Rinker. And a few weeks ago, and we'll get into a little bit more tomorrow, the Rinker family almost lost an entire generation in a week and a half. And I'm not going to get into too many details right now, so make sure you tune in tomorrow to our live stream here on YouTube, or make your way down to downtown Shreveport-Bossier, and you'll be able to hear a little bit more about what happened at the Round 1 race. But it really puts things in perspective, and it makes you really appreciate the impact that they've had. And you don't really realize how big that impact is until something like that happens, and everybody kind of takes a collective step back and really starts to reminisce. And you connect the dots and you really start to realize, wow, not only was this person impactful, but they weren't looking for notoriety. They weren't looking to, be hailed as some great person for boat racing. They just love the boat racing community. They love the people. They love coming to all these awesome communities and getting embraced by those communities, and the whole gamut of emotions and things that go along with being a part of powerboat racing is something that, it's nice to have. It's hard to deal with when you have to deal with it, but the appreciation stretches far and wide for numerous people, but especially people like Steve Huff and John Rinker.
And even here, the fans, you sit there and you walk around and they're like, you could talk to them and they'll be like, my uncle raced, but he raced a different kind, and you and I get that a lot when we're talking.
For
people
sure.
are like, where are you going this week? And what are you doing this week? And I'm like, and then, I'll be just somewhere with like a race shirt because I'm constantly in race shirts. I pretty much live in all my boat racing shirts.
Right. I literally have so many that my wife had to take all my shirts and put them in the corner of her closet because I have a smaller closet, which is totally fine. I just ran out of room. She's like, hey, I've got room. Like, all your stuff is jammed in here because you got like 27 boat racing shirts, right? I guess it just speaks to how long we've been doing this. But hey, it's great. And we got some drivers out here on the water. We've got about half our boats on the water so far for this Formula One qualifying heat number 1 here on the shores of the Red River.
All right, well, let's keep an eye right here in front of us. There's a brand new looking boat number, paint job. I mean, we're used to seeing 2 numbers on that boat, or 1.
Yeah, we're used to seeing the 03. Now it's got that big gold number 1 on the side, and that's for one reason and one reason only. He is the reigning champion from 2024 in that all black. Well, it's black and gray now due to a mishap in our preseason test and tune. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Even the greatest drivers in the world in tunnel boat racing and in powerboat racing make mistakes. He was out in front. We have a preseason test and tune the week before our opening round. It's a smaller course. We invite as many drivers as the course can handle to come down, and allows them to test props and get some racing conditions under their belt after the winter hiatus, much like when the Formula One cars have their preseason testing, right? They go there. It allows them to kind of get their brain back into race mode. Well, you can tell it maybe just wasn't quite all the way there. He's out in front, running away from his teammate, the 8 of Jeremiah Mayo, and sure enough, he blows that thing sky high. So the rear cowling, well, it sank to the bottom of the river, the Brazos River. Well, the Brazos River is a brackish water river, so it's where, that salt water and that fresh water meet, and the bottom of the river there is very mucky with a lot of clamshells and things of that nature, and that thing sunk to the bottom. They couldn't find it, so they had to get a backup one, which is still painted primer gray, and that's because apparently he got a whole new he got so invigorated from winning his championship, he decided to not open 1 but 2 restaurants in the off season. And of course, as construction delays do tend to happen, one of them didn't open until the week after our first race. It was supposed to open in February. So he was hoping to have everything ironed out and rolling. So double duty is definitely on the mind of our previous champion from last year, the number 1 of Dustin Terry. He's got a regular job. He works for a roofing company, but he's got 2 restaurants he's running now, 2 down in Houma, Louisiana. So to say his plate is full is an understatement, and yet somehow he still pulled off a second-place finish, and with those infractions that were laid against the 17 of Dylan Anderson, he leaves round 1 with the lead here coming into round 2 in Shreveport, Louisiana. And let's take a look at that here on, let's take a look at the standings after round 1. Well, we're not going to look at them. We'll talk about them, as I don't have the graphics up on our live stream. But take a look there. Finishing with 228 points, Dustin Terry sits in first. And now we had a couple of other drivers. One you know really well, the driver who's tied for third, Andrew Tate, was unable to be here because the guy basically races everything with a motor on the water. He races Grand Prix hydroplanes, a.k.a. a big blown car motor in a race boat. He drives unlimited hydroplanes that have a Chinook helicopter turbine engine in them. He races stock outboards, runabout, and hydro, right, in some of the interesting races up in northern Michigan and Indian River, that are a whole animal all of their own. And he races tunnel boats. And so, unfortunately, there's going to be some overlap. So he was unable to make it. And then our two-boat team of Dean Comer, who finished in second, his best finish ever on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. And RJ West, who's tied for third with Andrew Tate, unable to be here due to family commitments. I mean, hey, when your kids graduate in high school, you know, you got family graduating high school. Apparently, Memorial Day weekend is like the weekend to graduate high school in California. That team had to make the hard decision. Family does come first. We know that our boat racing family is a part of our family, but that the true family does come first. And hey, we're all about that stuff. So unfortunately, they're not here. But those drivers, Dean Comer with 206 points, and then R.J. West, again, tied with Andrew Tate for third with 171. So that means that one of two things can happen. Either things are going to get real tight, or Dustin Terry might create himself a nice little cushion here after round two as he comes in with a 22-point lead. But the fifth-place driver is the only boat here. So 2, 3, and 4, well, 2 and tied for third, they're not here. And it's unfortunate for them because in a six-race series, missing one race is going to be a pretty tough thing to do. But you look at right behind him, Spencer Love, and that new APX on the back of his Hoffman composite all-white Clover construction machine that we can see in the camera view here floating down the Red River. And then just to his right is the driver who won here last year, the number 8 of Jeremiah Mayo. And guess what? Today is his birthday.
No better way to spend your birthday. So if you guys are all down there on the front bench, you can see him down there, that bright orange Snap-on Tools. Jeremiah Mayo, happy birthday, kiddo. Looks like Grant Schubert.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, see, is he close down here? I don't know if he could hear us, but so maybe we'll save that for later. Oh, boy, look at there, ladies and gentlemen, in the 12 boat, that red Hoffman designed Formula One. It's still got the Clover construction on the side because the Outlaw team purchased that boat this weekend. Well, they purchased it, and it was brought here this weekend. They didn't expect to have to rig it at all. Then their driver, Grant Schubert, put a 3-foot hole in the bottom of his boat. And I don't know if there was much sleep in the Outlaw pits last night as they thrashed all night to get that thing back together.
No, there wasn't. I was here late last night helping out with the F1 Powerboat Championships, getting some last-minute stuff set up. And every time I looked over, the lights were still on over there at the Outlaws, and those guys had their head in that. First thing this morning, you and I were here, and they were still – I don't even know if they went to bed. There's a lot of work that had to be done on that. Jeremiah's coming back over. You wanted to say something to that guy?
Oh, well, he's got his motor running, so he's not going to be able to hear us. So looks like we've got all the boats out on the water here, and we're going to be ready to rock and roll here in just a couple of minutes with the first heat of qualifying here in Formula One. Unfortunately, due to the delays with all the debris and the weather and the issues with getting our race course set and being able to hold it, we're only going to be able to get in one qualifying heat of Formula One today, but that's okay because we moved up a Texas Tri-Hall heat, so we're going to have one more Texas Tri-Hall heat. 3 out of their 4 heats are going to be run today. Normally, we get 2 of them in tomorrow, 2 of them in today. So you're going to see 2 qualifying heats for F1 tomorrow instead of 2 today. So you're going to have 3 F1 races tomorrow instead of 2 and 2. You get 1 and 3 because, again, hey, we've got to relinquish so that the folks can get up to Mudbug Madness for the big headlining music going on tonight, right? We're the day show, they're the night show. It's a great 1-2 punch, a fantastic combo. It's Mudbug Madness, it's the Red River Rivalry, and we're just moments away from boats going in excess of 120 miles an hour here on the Red River.
Well, with that shift of the schedule, race fans, that means make sure you come back tomorrow. But when you do, stop and bring your friends, your family, your neighbors, and come on down here. Make sure you're taking all kinds of pictures. Throw those across your own personal social media to say that you are down here on the Red River. You are watching some of the fastest and most aggressive drivers here.
Absolutely. Hey, and you know what? With those pictures, don't forget, tag us at F1 Powerboat Championships, right? At F1 Powerboat Racing on Facebook, Instagram. And we've got a green flag for hot laps here in Formula Ones. And look at the 12 of Grant Schubert comes screaming down the back straightaway. They're going to run 4 pins, 3/4 mile course here, and we had to shift the course. Normally, we would be much further north up the river but because of the debris that seems to be so much worse north of the bridge here that connects you over to Bossier City from downtown Shreveport, we had to move it way further south down past the train bridge. I wonder what that's going to do to the course conditions.
Well, it's the course conditions, but also it's a mindset for these drivers. They did spend yesterday, they were able to go out and go test on a totally different course.
Completely different.
So now they have to shift their whole mindset to a course that's going to go underneath the bridge, way out of the way from where they were at yesterday. Also, the weather has changed. The sun's coming back out. So that's
that breeze is the breeze is calmed down, which is good, right? Because these boats are definitely have the most horsepower and have the highest likelihood of going over and in spectacular fashion. And I know that those drivers out there on the water are super excited. That's one less brutal thing they're having to deal with here that the Red River's been dishing out.
Exactly. So we're going to bring these boats to a slow crawl roll right out in front of you. Grab your camera, start taking your videos and your pictures, throw them across your social media. Make sure you tag it with F1 Powerboat Championships. We are here live at the Red River Rumble.
All right, and like we did with Formula Lights, I believe we are going to be doing a rolling 2x2 start here in Formula One. As it looks like we're going to have to get them all lined up. Now, why was that team, Outlaw team, so excited this morning and working so feverishly this morning to get that number 13, well, number 12 for this weekend now, Grant Schubert, back on the water? Well, due to the river conditions and just the rough nature of the water this morning, which has gotten, honestly, better this afternoon. I mean, I'm looking out there now, and I don't see any real big logs. I haven't seen anything for a while that was of the size that we were seeing at noon, 1 o'clock, or even 10 and 11. It was pretty rough this morning. And so our backup plan, right, when Mother Nature forces us to pivot, we have to have backup plans in place. So one of those that we do, if we cannot run fast lap qualifiers, and unfortunately here in round 2 we were unable to run those. For those of you here in Shreveport-Bossier, what is fast lap qualifying? Well, we send half our field out at a given time. They get to test for a little bit, and then they get 5 minutes on the clock to lay down their fastest elapsed time around the course. That then, we take that and we convert those into our starting grid. So first, second, third, fourth, shuffling all the way down on their lap times, and that will set our starting grid for these qualifying heats. We had to skip that. So our backup method is what we use in the tri-hull division, where they draw for position. So it's essentially a luck of the draw. Well, what did Grant Schubert draw? He drew pole position. So he's like, hey guys, like the river's rough, right? I need a boat this boat can get out in front, and then I can just navigate from there. So I think sitting in the catbird seat in that pole position, he recognized how beneficial that could be and how unlikely that probably would have been in the fast lap qualifiers, especially in a newer boat that he's not accustomed to, right? You're not going to push it on the ragged edge, but it's so rough out here today, there's a very real possibility that he can basically get out in front and just play defense, right? Run inside to outside, play conservative, but on a shorter course like this with the rough water, the wind, the debris, and it's going to be difficult for anybody to get around him. And let's take a look at that starting lineup. On the inside of row 1, the guy we were just talking about, the number 12 of Grant Schubert in that brand new Hoffman hull that he just picked up this weekend due to some severe damage on his normal Captain Jack's machine.
On the outside of him, you can't miss that neon green 99 JH Performance. Inside the cockpit, that's going to be Travis Yates.
On the inside of row number 2 in that Rinker Boat World machine, the man out of Spring, Texas, the number 52 of Chris Rinker.
Anderson Marine brings you Dylan Anderson. Yesterday in testing, I think he was the one that took advantage of all of the testing time that they allowed. And I'm pretty sure that might pay off.
Absolutely. On the inside of row number 3 in that white Clover construction machine, the number 24 of Spencer Love.
We're used to seeing an 03 on the side of this boat, but this year he gets to put the number 1, Dustin Terry.
And he starts in 6th, and Jet Ski Jared comes ripping off the course, and we're waiting for green flag. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're underway with the opening qualifying heat here in Formula One as they go down the front straightaway, all the way down, way past the train bridge under the south end of the course. Who's going to get down to the first turn? It's the 12 of Grant Schubert, followed by the 52 of Chris Rinker, comes screaming up the inside as they make their way down to turn number 2 and 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway, heading north up the course. Can the 12 of Grant Schubert hang on and go wire to wire? Not if the 52 of Chris Rinker has anything to say about it.
Chris Rinker's sitting there nipping on the heels, but here comes Anderson in the 17. We almost had a collision.
Oh, look out there. Was that the 98 of Aiden Benton?
No.
That was the 98 of Aiden Benton. He came in there hot, strolling down the back straightaway.
All right.
And it looks like he's out already. Wow, did he get out of that cockpit quick? The young driver out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, went hard into the corner, and it looks like he just caught the outside edge of a roller from the boat in front of him. And as you know, a roller has a peak. It has a front side and a back side. And if you go over that peak, you are now falling into a hole. He fell into a hole and snap rolled that thing in an instant.
We just saw that at Port Neches with Andrew Tate. He did the same thing. I mean, it's so unpredictable waters out here. And, we're glad to see that he is up out there. We're going to bring him on into the ambulance. It looks like he's doing okay. Drove 22 hours to get here this weekend, and then the first lap already took a swing.
Yeah, you know what, though? I look at the boat there, and I don't know if I see too much damage. Now, obviously, that's just a very quick view of the boat, but as it was upside down, I didn't see any damage. I see the boat is right side up. It's floating fairly well, and that is the benefit of a barrel roll versus a blowover. A barrel roll, even as violent as that one was and quick, holy cow. And you can see him driving. He's completely okay. Maybe not mentally. He's probably real angry at himself, but physically he's okay. And again, that's the most important thing. But boy, let's talk about how fast did they get to him. I mean, he got out of the boat, but that boat was upright, hooked to Jet Ski Jared, and now being towed off the course in under a minute and a half from the accident happening. And that is right there one of the things that we need to highlight, and it's so important for us, is the ability for our rescue crews to have the safety of our drivers number one at all times.
Yeah, and it's between that and, these boats are built stronger and stronger every year for that reason. They are seeing speeds over 120 plus miles per hour. And to snap roll that quick, I mean, and that boat's, like you said, just floating over there. Hopefully no damage, but we'll have to go over there in the pits tonight and check.
I mean, either way, even if there isn't any structural damage to that number 98 machine, drying it out, taking care of the electricals, cleaning out the motor. If the hull is okay, we could probably see him tomorrow, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be a long night tonight for the 98 of Aiden Benton. And boy, what a scary moment that was for just an instant as he came in there flying at 100 plus miles an hour and snap rolled it down in turn number 3.
And it happened so quickly. That was just the scary part on that. And these drivers, they go through what's called capsule training. Once a year, they go inside of a capsule. There's a capsule that's put into a pool. The driver gets into this capsule, strapped down just like it's a racing procedure. They take that capsule cell and they spin it around 3 or 4 times, get the driver basically discombobulated just a little bit, and that driver must get out of the boat under their own power and by themselves. You can see there's that little tiny hatch at the top. That's the only way out of that boat.
Absolutely. All right, so now I want everybody here in Shreveport to do something for me, right? If you can hear me here on the Shreveport side of the river, and if you're on the Bossier side, I want to do it well. On the count of 3, this Ray Bob seasoning number 8, it's his birthday today. So on the count of 3, I would appreciate it if everybody could scream as loud as they can, "Happy birthday, Jeremiah." All right, can we do that? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday, Jeremiah! And can he give himself the best birthday present 2 years in a row? Another win here on the Red River Rumble. When we get underway here in just a moment, we're gonna find out if he can come clawing back and find himself on the top spot here in qualifying heat number 1 here in the Formula One class. As we've got all the drivers back out on the water, we're just waiting for Jet Ski Jared. Looks like he's still waiting for the crane to get in place. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to share with all of our fans what these tunnel boats are all like, brought to us by our leader and CEO, the legendary Tim Siebold.
Hi, my name is Tim Siebold, Managing Director of the F1 Powerboat Championship. I want to talk to you and show you what a Formula One boat is. This is our custom-made Formula One outboard. This catamaran design, which traps air underneath the bottom of the boat, so you fly this boat as much as you drive it. You can see the tunnel in the bottom, and it helps lift the boat to give it the extreme performance that you see out on the water. They're very agile because minimum weight with the driver is only 1,175 pounds. Now add on top of that 265 horse engine, and that's going to get you from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. So when a Formula One boat is running properly, you will trim it out, coming out of the corner, pack as much air underneath the tunnel as you can to lift the boat up to get it to accelerate. As you're picking up speed, you need to level the boat off and keep it on the water by trimming it down. When you're running at its maximum, there's only a foot of the boat in the water. When you come up to the turn, you trim it down, let more of the running surface, pull a 7G corner, and you're immediately on the out button, trimming it up again to get the performance. Now there is nothing stock about this boat. It is custom made, all infused carbon fiber. Our biggest concerns on the series is the driver safety. This particular boat has got a driver safety cell made out of infused carbon fiber, space age materials for lightweight. This boat also has an airbag system. So if it were to go over and the driver's knocked out, a balloon comes out of this top section while the puffs on the back of the deck pop up, and it'll sink the back and float the driver out of the water until the safety crew can come and assist him. Data acquisition, so you know exactly what's going on with the fuel system, the engine, the boat, all simultaneously while you're trying to keep this thing on the water. It's a crazy amount of energy that you've got in here, but the thing I've always said is it's sustained concentration that you have to have. It's not like a football player where you're up for a play and then you get a chance to rest. You got to be on your toes, totally focused for the entire race. 17 minutes plus 1 lap.
All right, what a fantastic piece there by Managing Director Tim Siebold. I mean, the man, the only one who in his family who's won more races than him is the most decorated tunnel boat driver in the history of the world. His father, Bill Siebold, who's been inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame with the likes of Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, and some of the best racers in any discipline across the world. Talk about big shoes to fill, huh?
Oh, my God.
And I got to say, you know what? A lot of times when you have big shoes like that to fill, you never really quite get there. And I would say if you talk to his father, Bill, and Bill, if you're watching down in Florida, God love you, sir. I hope you're doing well. But I think you would, if you were to ask Bill, nobody could have filled his shoes as well as his son Tim did over his illustrious career, and now stepping into the behind-the-scenes role to continue to grow and drive powerboat racing into the future. And a fantastic piece put to him at the Alton Midwest Nationals last year, and just such a great piece to get those of you fans. So if you wanted to watch that and you're here at the Shreveport-Bossier Red River Rumble and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should do that right now, because you can go back tonight and you can watch that fantastic piece. And there's just so much knowledge, and he does such a great job of explaining it in layman's terms so that folks who aren't intimately involved in tunnel boat racing can very easily understand how these things operate and how dangerous they really are.
Kind of sucks our fans into it a little bit more, so they start to follow it. I mean, we got people here that are in Shreveport probably visiting this beautiful town, this fun town. I mean, we walked over to the mall, we've gone over to the Margaritaville, I've had some fun over there. You know, if you're visiting in from out of the state of here of Louisiana, and look up on F1 Powerboat Championship and follow our series. We may be coming to your town pretty soon.
Absolutely. Hey, and you know what? Marble Falls, just northwest of Austin, isn't that far from here, and neither is Alton, Illinois, and definitely Houston, Texas is pretty close. So for those of you here in Shreveport-Bossier, make sure you go to F1PowerboatChampionship.com. Check out the remaining schedule here for 2025. July 18th through 20th, the Alton Midwest Nationals in Alton, Illinois, just outside of St. Louis. And then in the first weekend in August, we go to Marble Falls, Texas. Then mid-September, we're at the Roar of the Rockies in Windsor, Colorado, in the foothills of the Colorado Rocky Mountains. And then we wrap up the year in Houston, Texas for the battle on the San Jacinto as we look to crown a champion here in 2025. Kay, I think the rest of the season is going to be a doozy.
I think it is. I mean, it started off there at Port Neches, Texas, and had some really great deck-to-deck racing. We've already seen multiple races this morning and this afternoon. We got still racing to go, and then all the stuff, everything's going to be laid out on the line tomorrow for the big finals. It's going to be interesting to see who is going to come out on top this weekend. Who accumulate all those points to see who is going to be the big hedgehog for the season.
Yeah, and it's going to be real interesting, especially with some of our drivers who finished fairly well in Port Neches and unable to be here due to prior commitments and family functions. It really leaves the door wide open as long as Dustin Terry doesn't end up running away with the weekend here, because I think if you see that number one on the top spot of the podium come Sunday afternoon, he's going to have a pretty sizable lead going into Alton, and it's going to take a lot to pry that championship away from the one of Dustin Terry.
You know, he put a gold one on that, so I think he wants
No, that was on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
And he put that thing on there like the day after he won. And it's the only new decal he's put on that boat since he won the championship. He had it all stripped in Freeport. They had it ready to go in the shop on Wednesday after the race to get completely stickered. Instead, they were putting the thing back together a couple of days before the first race of the season. And what did he do? Just ended up on the podium and ended up with the most points leaving round one after blowing it over 2 weeks before.
I see a lot of real estate on the side of that boat.
He does.
I'm thinking there's some real estate for some local sponsors that maybe possibly want to get their name on the side of that boat. Because, you know, we're going to see it on the top of the podium quite often throughout the 2025 season. So if you want to get your name on the side of what I call the floating billboard, make sure you make your way over to the coal pits after the races are done and go talk to these drivers and see, hey, how can I get my name on the side? I mean, look at Anderson Marine. He's got one heck of a lot of support because he's another fast driver.
Absolutely. Look at that. XS Batteries, Low Car Performance, Anderson Marine, and all the great local sponsors from here in Shreveport-Bossier on the side of that Anderson Marine Formula One tunnel boat. That is an all-composite Hoffman design hull. You'll see a few of those out here today, one more than you would have saw yesterday with the 12 of Grant Schubert jumping into a Hoffman. The first time in a Hoffman for the young driver out of Richmond, Texas. And I got to say, I was pretty impressed with his speed out there. He was trying to run away with it until the 98 of Aiden Benton went over down there in turn number 3. And so joining me now here in the announcer's booth is the young driver out of Canada, the number 98 of Aiden Benton. Boy, Aiden, not necessarily what you wanted, man. You went for a ride down there. Walk us through what happened down there in turn number 3.
Well, you know, these Powerboat guys have been telling me about holes in the corner, and I never really knew what they meant until now. I came into the corner beside the Clever boat, and the front sponson went in, and it was the slowest barrel roll ever, and then I was fishing in the dark for a second trying to get the heck out of there, but we managed to get out, and hey, I'm cooled off now. This heat's been getting to me, but we got some work to do.
It's definitely not this warm in Canada, right?
No. We were 45 when we left here 2 days ago. We're 22 hours from home, so I mean, a little bit of a drive, so we're not done. We're going to dry the boat out tonight and fix what we got to fix.
So let's talk about that, right? I mean, fantastic job by the Sport Rescue team grabbing you, getting the boat upright. Yeah. And at first glance, it looked like the boat seemed like it was pretty okay. Have you had a chance to take a peek at it yet? I know they were waiting to get it on the crane, and Jared was kind of hanging on to it down at the south end of the course there for a minute.
Well, you know, these boats are normally 1,000 pounds. You fill them full of water, they get to be about 4,000, 5,000 real quick. So they're trying to fish her out down there on the crane, and I just came for a walk. I says, those boys got her covered. I mean, there's some good guys down there. The Rinker team's out there helping us. So
yeah, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get that because of the shift in the course. We were having to shift our camera angles. We weren't able to get the barrel roll. But I can tell you this, sir, it was not a slow barrel roll. No. It was very much not a slow barrel roll. It is what we call in the business a snap roll. You snap rolled that thing at 100-plus miles an hour going to the corner, but you found out those peaks, those rollers, they got a backside. And that backside isn't very fun a lot of the times, is it?
No, that wasn't too fun at all. I mean, we got out of there quick, and this water, she's dark, so you can't see much. So we got out. Everything's all good. We'll go back, dry out the boat. You know, it is what it is, man. It's not the first time that engine's been underwater, and it won't be the last time. It's just hopefully the boat's good enough that it'll keep floating, right?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, we have a saying in tunnel boat racing, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I know you've had a couple of them. some of them may not necessarily have been all you're doing with some other drivers and collisions that have happened with you. We actually just watched a video with you from Alton, Illinois last year when you and the 14 Andrew Tate got together and that carbon fiber boat won that battle. And your wood boat didn't necessarily come out nearly as well, but you got a different boat. And word on the street is you might have another one coming. But, we love to see the hard charging, hard nose pushing that you're doing out there. You're definitely making strides. I can tell you from last year in Alton to this year in Port Neches for round one, and then the driving that you did out there on that back straightaway before you unfortunately caught the backside of that roller was some marketable improvements. So be proud. Know that every single guy that you're out there on the water has done the same exact thing multiple times. And hey, look at it this way. At least you weren't leading the race when you did it.
Yeah, no, we had some catch up to do, but let's see if the boat will keep floating there. We got a whole other day of racing tomorrow. We're not done. We don't drive all this way to just give up. So we'll get her back together and we'll get back out there. All right?
Yeah, and you got a bunch of guys in the pits from all the other teams that are going to help you do it, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, he is the number 98 of Aiden Benton. Watch out for this young man. He's on the rise up. It may have not been the best moment here in the opening qualifying heat in round 2 here at the Red River Rumble, but he'll be back for more tomorrow. We'll be right back with more racing here as we wrap up Saturday qualifying at the 2025 Red River Rumble. All right, that was the 98 of Aiden Benton. I got to say, a heck of a lot better spirits than I would be if I snap rolled my boat at 100-plus miles an hour racing on the Red River. That's for sure, but that just speaks to the mentality that this driver has. He's really pushing the limit, and he understands things are going to happen, but he's going to learn from them, grow from them, and I think you're going to see this driver be a better driver because of it, as weird as that is to say.
I mean, you got to learn somehow, sink or swim, or, even if you trip and fall, you got to get back up, and he's doing a great job of that. I know we're going to see him on the water, but you were just talking about things do happen. I just saw the 99 of the JH Performance Yates just get towed into the dock.
Oh, no. That's unfortunate for the 99 of Travis Yates. I see him sitting on the dock there, so he's still in the water. It may have been some sort of electrical issue, or, it could be something as simple as tripped a kill switch, right? And when you're strapped into a 6-point safety harness, not necessarily, right, easy to get to your kill switch. They're designed for rollovers or accidents to kill the power to the motor so you don't have a motor and a prop spinning thousands of RPMs. But it'll be unfortunate if the 99 of Travis Yates, it looks like they've got that rear cowling off down there on the south end of the course, trying to work on that. We'll probably give him a couple of minutes to try to get back together, but unfortunate for the 99 of Travis Yates. But you know what? He's probably telling himself, hey, at least I wasn't upside down in the river.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hopefully it's something very minor, and we're going to be able to get him back out onto the course. We're keeping an eye out on that, number 12. It's going to be weird saying the 12 for Grant Schubert, but, it's great to see him out onto the course. If you were just joining us yesterday, unfortunately, Grant Schubert hit a little log and put a big hole in the bottom of that boat. Went over to that Clover Construction. He decided, hey, I want to try a Red Rocket number 12. Brought that boat back over to the Outlaw Group. The Outlaw Group and many other teams joined hands together, and he is out here on the water. One of our younger drivers doing double duty. You just saw him out in the tri-hulls. Then he decided to go jump into F-150. We're going to see the 52. That's a moorboat. You were talking about different kinds and different styles and different hulls that are out there. The 52 is a moorboat. That's actually what, when I was talking to Chris, I go, how old is this boat? He goes, I think 2002, maybe 2012. I go, that's a big difference there, buddy. He goes, well, it's my backup to my backup to my backup,
Well, that's because 2 years ago in Grove, Oklahoma, he blew his primary boat about 30 feet into the air and broke it in half. Now, safety things in these boats, he was completely fine. But that boat is French. So where are the molds?
Yep.
Where do you put the boat that you broke in half? Well, you got to put it in a container, and you got to ship it all the way to France, right? And then you got to get it shipped back. Well, instead of just having the one, because he had this backup boat and he had another backup boat, right? There's a stable of boats in the Rinker family, no surprise.
Yeah.
He said, you know what? Fix that one and get me another one. So not only do you have one, he's got 2 boats that have just landed back in the U.S. after a longer than desired trip across the pond. But as you can imagine, commercial shipping and tariffs and all the political things that are going on, everything takes a little bit longer probably to make its way back overseas. But David Moore did a fantastic job putting those boats back together. I know the Rinker Racing team is very excited to get their hands on those boats. They just accepted delivery of them, I think, Tuesday.
Yeah, he said he's like, I didn't know if I wanted to go racing or rig my new boat. Racing, rig the new boat. I said, no, what are you thinking? You got to race that one. Put the final touches on this one, put it in the back barn, and bring out the big one for Alton.
Absolutely. Looks like they're still working on the 99 at Travis Yates. All right, and it looks like I just got word from Chief Scorer Lindsey Matthews radioing down to our start dock. Looks like it's a fuel filter issue on the back of that APX. And one of the things that we learn now with this new Apex platform for Mercury, the computer knows everything.
Oh, yeah.
And if the computer senses something is wrong inside that four-stroke, it will put itself into what we call Guardian mode, right? What is Guardian mode? It protects itself. It's a built-in feature to these four-stroke Mercuries to ensure the longevity and the health of the motor. Well, and if you've got a fuel filter that's sucking in a bunch of gunk and not working properly, the motor's going to go, no. And so it shut itself off, and so that's why he had to get towed back. They're fixing it as we speak, just a minute or two away from getting that completed, and we'll get back to the final, the only Formula One qualifying heat here on qualifying Saturday due to the horrendous amount of debris in the river earlier today. But I got to say, you look out there now, and it is completely different from even an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
An hour and a half ago, in between the races, we were seeing numerous trees make their way down. Now, we've had a fantastic group of drivers, both a combination of the sport rescue team as well as some other individuals inside the operations here at the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series that have hopped in, and they're basically playing guard duty on all the debris coming south down the river from the north end of the course. And they're not grabbing it and holding on to it. They're just diverting it to the other side of the river because they want it to flow by, right? There's no point in putting it on the bank and then risk having it come back on, but they're doing a fantastic job. And as you watch them out there while these drivers are getting ready, I mean, they're moving all over the place. They've got multiple people with arms over the edge grabbing onto a log, and they tow it out and kind of throw it downriver and let it flow on the far end of the course out of the harm's way of all of our drivers.
Yeah, and you can see one right now, right down that backstretch. And you see how it's just barely popping out. Keep in mind, these drivers are sitting inside of a cockpit, helmet on, with just a little window in front of them to be able to see these huge logs. But half of them are underwater. That's the problem, was we're not seeing the ones that are still underneath the water, the surface of the water. And those are the most dangerous ones.
Right, well, and that's indicative of the Red River. The Red River it meanders so much. And the makeup of the river bottom allows the river to change when you get some of these larger flooding type activities. And if you recall from a couple of weeks ago, I think up in Arkansas, the Red River was maxed out. All the floodplains around the river were swelled with water. Well, what happens is not only does it pull new debris into the water, it churns up old debris that had been stuck in the muck. And that wood has been waterlogged, right? And so in the water column, it floats so much lower. And those ones, right? The new ones that went into the water, you can see those plain as day because they're floating on top of the water. It's those logs that got rustled up from sitting on the bottom of the river for 20, 30 years that have now lifted up and are floating very low in the water column, because wood doesn't rot when it's in water. It only rots when you get water and air contacting it at the same time. That's when the rotting process starts. So these logs are still fully formed. They were just stuck at the bottom of the river for decades, and then a storm came along and spit them up, and now we're having to deal with them. But looks like we're about to get ready here in just a couple of minutes. The 99 at Travis Yates is back out on the water. We're going to take a quick commercial break and give a big shout out to some of our sponsors. We'll be right back with the conclusion of Heat 1 here in the Formula One class of the 2025 Red River Rumble. All right, race fans, we're back here, and they are lined up and running down the back straightaway, lined up 2 by 2. Ooh, nice miss there by Jeremiah Mayo. He missed about a 20-foot log on the way far outside of the back straightaway there. Hopefully that thing is out of the water. I know Chief Referee Doug Ray sees that log, and he may give him another lap around just to allow that log to clear itself out of the back straightaway, because that could cause some severe damage to one of these tunnel hulls running at 100-plus miles an hour.
We talked about the radio personnel that is communicating with the drivers, and that is what our radio personnel is saying. Hey, there is a huge log down that backstretch. We may go for one more lap, like you said, to make sure that clears the backstretch. I would not want to see one of these boats launch. Or, I don't know, do we want to go back to Port Neches to Spencer Love when he submarined, when he launched, or when he hit that log?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Took him, I mean, he was on his way to winning that title. Yeah. In Port Neches a few years back when he hit that giant water log. Again, low in the water column, didn't even see it. But yes, it does look like they're going to make one big long lap down the near side of the course here on the Shreveport side to allow some of those larger logs to get pushed off out to the far side of the race course. It looks like we've got another one there north of the course, but look at our teams are doing a fantastic job. You see a great overhead shot here from our drones. Look at the Shreveport-Bossier downtown landscape. You can see all of our rescue boats there and our different operational teams on the back straightaway dealing with those large pieces of debris here on the Red River. And our drivers, you're going to see there's going to be some meandering by our drivers as well as they navigate around this debris as we're getting close to back under racing action here at the opening qualifying heat in the Formula One class here at the Red River Rumble in 2025.
If you are just joining us, this is called a rolling start. You can see they follow Jet Ski Jared down the backstretch. We do two forms of starts. We do a flag start, which we use a lot of times but unfortunately, due to the current, we deemed that which is going to be unsafe, so we're going to go ahead and do a rolling start, which makes things a little interesting as they go down that
Yeah, because these guys aren't used to that nearly as much as they are the dock start.
Exactly. We don't do it very often, but Jet Ski Jared's going to bring him down the front stretch, and we're going to see if we're going to get a green flag.
All right, he goes peeling off the course, side by side, the 12 of Grant Schubert, the 99 of Travis Yates in row one. And there's the green flag. They drop it. They lay the hammer down. 85, 90. 95, 100, as they push hard down the front straightaway. On the inside, it's the 12 of Schubert. On the outside, it's the 99 of Yates. There goes Schubert down in the corner. Another great move there by the 52 of Rinkerman. Look, coming wide to the outside. It's the 17 of Dylan Anderson. As they come back under the bridge down the back straightaway, the 12 of Schubert airs that Hoffman Hall out. The 52 of Rinkers moved up into second. Looks like the 99 of Yates having some problems with the filters still continuing on the back of that JH Performance machine. The 17 of Dylan Anderson sliding up into third. There's our championship winner from 2024.
Grant Schubert doing a wonderful job driving that boat all the way through turn number 1 and 2, but right on his outside hip, here comes Chris Rinker. Rinker Boat World, he's going to be a tough competitor.
Absolutely, we got a battle going on now as he goes down to the inside. It's the 12 of Schubert going tight in lane number 1. On his outside hip in lane 2 is the 52 of Rinker. Now Schubert moves wide to the outside, and he's trying to scrub up that water. There's the 17 of Dylan Anderson sitting in third.
You can see that Dylan Anderson is trying to fight not only the current, but the rollers that are being left behind with this two-boat race coming out of turn number 2. Side-by-side racing on the inside. Going to be Grant Schubert on the outside. Chris Rinker as Rinker Boat World.
Now, Guzzi going to have enough room to do the overtake as they go down into turn number 3. It looks like the 12 of Schubert backs off down in turn number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a new leader. The man who got the pole in Port Neches, but due to a family emergency had to step away from the cockpit for the main event, is looking to try to finish what he started in Port Neches. He is running that thing like he stole it down the front straightaway. He's out of turns 1 and 2 and now down the back straightaway. When something like that happens and you unexpectedly have to step away, what does that do to the mentality of you as a driver?
You know, and his mindset right now is not only just winning, but he is also sitting and saying, I've got to do this for Papa Jerry. Papa Jerry's here in the pits, which is great to see, but look at the lead he has already taken over. The 52, followed by Grant Schubert in the number 12. Dylan Anderson in the 17, the number 1 of Dustin Terry. And here comes our birthday boy. Snap-on Tools brings you Jeremiah Mayo.
Oh boy, that motor does not sound happy on the back of that number 8 machine. It might be a long night for the Ray Bob Seasoning sponsored entry of Jeremiah Mayo, as he's got to get some things figured out. But the man who doesn't have to get anything figured out right now, he's just got to run that thing as best he can here for the remaining 4 minutes and 55 seconds plus 1 lap. That's our leader, the 52 of Chris Rinker. There's the 12 of Grant Schubert. He's still sitting in second, but he's really fallen off the pace, and the 52 of Rinker is really starting to pull away as he goes down there into turn 1. Now out of turn number 1, off turn 2, the 24 of Spencer Love is struggling a little bit with that heavy APX, a little bit more difficult to handle in this rough water here on the Red River.
He does a courtesy move, and he moves to the outside, going ahead to give Chris Rinker the lead on the inside. Here comes Spencer Love. Unfortunately, like he said, having some technical issues, but we know that he's got Troy in the pits. He's got them. He's going to get him back out here.
And the 17 of Anderson starting to make a little room. Gained some ground on the 12 of Grant Schubert, but he had a little bobble there down in turn number 4. Can he make up the ground here in the remaining 4 minutes? There's our leader, the 52 of Chris Rinker. We apologize for a little bit of odd angles. We had to shift our course, and our cameras were already set in position. Hard to move those around midday, but the 52 of Chris Rinker is driving this thing like a beaut here in opening qualifying heat number 1. It looks like we lost the 99 of Travis Yates. Oh no, the 17 of Dylan, the 12 of Grant Schubert has gone way off the pace. The 17 of Dylan Anderson has now moved up into second, with the 13 of Schubert falling back all the way to 4th now, as the 1 of Dustin Terry has been able to get by the young driver out of Richmond. But it is all Chris Rinker right now as he looks to eye up the 99 of Travis Yates. There's the man now sitting in second, the 17 of Dylan Anderson. Can he close the gap here in the remaining 3 minutes? That's going to be a tall order, okay?
Chris Rinker has almost a half a lap lead over the second place boat of the number 17 of Anderson Marine. And on third is going to be the number 1 of Dustin Terry. Looks to be like Grant Schubert starting to fall back farther and farther. I'm wondering about that confidence thing. You talked about it earlier. You're up in the front. You've got all the confidence in the world, the best water, and now he's starting to have to battle through that. But Chris Rinker is going to come out of turn number 3 and 4 down the front stretch. That's your leader, the bright yellow Rinker Boat World.
And I can assure you the last thing he wants to do is put that thing upside down like he did in 2024. So he's being very careful out there, but still running it on the ragged edge. There's the 12 of Grant Schubert, and I think you're right. The lack of confidence with that brand new boat is a big, tall order here on this rough and tumble Red River.
But he's doing a great job driving it down that first turn, turn 2 and turn 3, and he's going to come down the front stretch. That would be the bright red, number 12, young Grant Schubert. And our leader sizing up his lead further and further by each lap over our second place boat. That's the bright blue Anderson Marine, driven by Dylan Anderson. Third place, going to be that number 1 boat, Dustin
Yeah, look
Terry.
at that, a 29.20 by the 52 of Rinker, and not even the second place boat of Anderson can come close to that 29.2. So he's continuing to open up a lead, but I can guarantee you, crew chief, and the rest of the Rinker team is like, hey, Chris, you're out in front, man. Just Cadillac this thing, baby. Ride it smooth. You don't need to win by a mile, right? You got a good lead right now. As we see, there's the 1 of Dustin Terry. He's moving up into that 3rd position after he was able to get by his teammate, the 12 of Grant Schubert. But there's our leader, the 52 of Chris Rinker. Now looking to get up on the 24 of Spencer Love. Man, that thing is way off power. So weird for the man who was the 2022 champion in Formula One.
But he's going to limp it through this whole heat because some points are better than none. We talked about that earlier, and that's what he's going to do.
Correct.
Spencer Love in the 24.
Absolutely. It's all about winning the war, not necessarily the battle, right? And you can't finish first if you don't first finish, right? So obviously a little bit of that coming into play here, especially with the amount of debris and the history that we have here from last year. These drivers are definitely on even higher alert than they normally are. But the man who's taken that high alert and running it all the way to the top spot so far here in qualifying heat number 1 is the man out in front, the 52 of Chris Rinker. He's already down the front straightaway. He's pulling away from the field. The 17 of Dylan Anderson now is just trying to stay ahead of the 1 of Dustin Terry, who's charging hard down out of turn number 3, trying to catch the young driver out of Nashville, Tennessee.
But he's still trying to fight around some of that back traffic. Got really close to Yates going into turn 2, 3, and 4, but able to maneuver his way through. He's still trying to play a little bit of catch-up game, but you know what? Look at Rinker. He is about ready to catch up to the 3rd place boat.
Well, that's the 4th place boat. The 8 of Jeremiah Mayo. The 5th place boat, because Schubert's still ahead of him. Dustin Terry looks like he's had some transponder issues, and so his transponder malfunctioned, but he is actually sitting in that 3rd position here in this opening qualifying heat. This will wrap up racing for the day due to the delays on the river. We're going to push that 3rd tri-haul heat to tomorrow morning, so boy, even a more jam-packed day. And oh no, there's the white flag out. Boy, the 8 of Jeremiah Mayo is way backed up. Look at it, put it on its tail, ladies and gentlemen. White flag out. Go fast. turn left, young man. The driver out of Spring, Texas, looking to take home qualifying heat number 1 as he goes down into turn number 1. There's the third place boat of Dustin Terry coming into turn number 3. He gets through the final north end turn on this final lap. But it's all about Chris Rinker as he comes out of turns 1 and 2, down the back straightaway, pushing hard down the back stretch. He's got this thing in cruise mode as he comes through turn 3. Nice and easy. Sweeps it out of turn number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, taking the opening qualifying heat in Formula One out of Spring, Texas. Running for Rinker Boat World number 52, Chris, the real deal Rinker.
Followed by that bright blue Anderson Marine, driven by Dylan Anderson.
And rounding out the top 3 here in the opening qualifying heat, the defending champion from 2024 here on the Formula One Powerboat Championship Series. They call him the Dust Man out of Houma, Louisiana, the number 1 of Dustin Terry.
What a great run. I mean, he had to work for that, but once he was able to get around Grant Schubert, it was like, I'm out.
Smooth sailing from there, man. He just pieced out on the rest of the field. And I think that's him making a statement like, hey, guys, I had a pretty big family emergency that, again, we talked about. We'll get into a little bit more tomorrow. So don't forget to tune in if you want to know all the details and understand everything about what happened. But he had to step away. It was a clear cut, no questions asked. And I think this was a statement saying, hey, guys, just because I had to do that doesn't mean I'm not going to come out here and put a whooping on all of you. I think this is going to be a statement race for Chris Rinker, because I think if he can pull off wins for the rest of the season, even with limited points just from qualifying in the opening round, he may still have an outside chance at that title here in 2024. And I know that's the one thing that has really eluded the 52 of Chris Rinker. You know, he's done well at the APBA National Championships. He's been on the podium. He's won races, but the one thing he doesn't have, just like the 17 of Dylan Anderson, is that F1 Powerboat Championship Series title, which he's going to be pushing for hard for the rest of the season, that's for sure. And with 2 more boats in the stable, watch out the rest of the field, because the 52 of Chris Rinker is coming.
Yeah, he is, and he is a hard charge. You were saying earlier, he's like, oh, he's going for a Cadillac ride, and I kind of looked at you funny. I said, have you ever met Chris Rinker to ever let off on the throttle, even if he's a half a lap ahead? He is a hard-charging driver, and he knew that he had Anderson, and one little tiny mistake he could have made at any point in time, Anderson was going to pounce on him, so he was going to charge hard the whole entire heat. Great run by Chris Rinker in the 52, a Rinker Boat World, came out of Houston, Texas. And you know, that whole fleet of Rinkers over there, I'm sure they are hooting and hollering.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. They're super excited, right? But they're going to go back. They're going to get in the pits. They're going to go to work. And what are they going to do? They're going to try to make it that much better for tomorrow. Well, that's going to conclude our racing for today. We were trying to get in one more tri-hull, but due to the time delays from the debris and the weather that we dealt with earlier today, we had to make the tough decision to move that tomorrow. But that just means you've got more racing tomorrow on Sunday than you did here today on Saturday. What a fantastic day of racing despite all that Mother Nature threw at us. We persevered. We got through it. And what a fantastic day was on the mic with you here again, Kay, as we opened up the 2025 Red River Rumble.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's been a great day. Weather conditions have been up and down, but the sun is out. And guess what? I'm going to go try me some crawfish and make sure I get those gator bites.
There you go. Well, while Kay's heading up to Mudbug Madness, if you're here in Shreveport-Bossier, make sure you do the same. Get yourself over to Mudbug Madness. Enjoy the crawfish, the ice-cold cocktails, and the family-friendly, fun atmosphere that is the Mudbug Madness, the nighttime activity here in downtown Shreveport, Louisiana, on this beautiful Memorial Day weekend.
Speaking of family, I had a cell phone brought to me just a little bit ago with a very cute family picture on that. If you can come over and tell me that this is your phone with identifying yourself as one of these really cute people, come on over. We've got the cell phone that was lost, found on the ground, brought to us. So if you're missing your cell phone, I have it.
Yeah, it's got a hot pink case on it. There's a family photo. And I can assure you, if you can unlock the phone, it's going to be yours because you're going to know the PIN. But we'll have that up here at the judges' stand for anybody who needs to find that. We'll hang on to it. Hopefully somebody finds it later tonight. But that's going to wrap up the rest of racing here on this beautiful, what ended up being a beautiful Saturday late afternoon. And we're going to do what we did at the beginning of the day, and we want to highlight the fantastic communities that are Shreveport-Bossier. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. God bless, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning as we crown a champion here at the 2025 Red River Rumble.